Hey truckers, thank you for likes and comment. Here is part 8 of Crazy Detective. Let's dive into the video. The rain was first a drizzle, but with the cold wind blowing through, it covered the night with a light haze of watery mist. The gradually dropping temperature affected the people too. Even while sitting in their cars, it still felt rather chilly. At the moment, it was already past 12 o'clock at night at the back entrance of the Yen Pan town at Yen Pan Mountain. Even though the town did not have many citizens, the police officers still set up their perimeters using yellow police tape out of habit. Team leader Ping Xian and Chu Ping of the Rongyang branch office, sample collectors from the forensics department, a few special investigators from the city council, and a few special tunnel construction workers that were hired for this had already entered the cave. They were currently cleaning up the collapsed tunnel entrance to see under the rubble. Could there be any other secrets? Outside of the tunnel, at an open area at the foot of the mountain was many police cars of various sizes. Because of the sudden drizzling, regardless of whether they were an influential official or a rookie police officer, they were all huddled up in the car, waiting for information. Zhao Yu was sitting in one of the police car. His Malinois hound that he had named Sherlock Holmes was sitting beside him in the car. After the shower, the dog not only looked more refreshed, but it also smelled very sweet. At the moment, it was panting loudly as it sat obediently beside its owner Zhao Yu, as if also patiently waiting to find out the answer. Zhao Yu patted the dog's head, but his heart was out of it. Even though he had the miracle system on him, he still could never have dreamed of such a coincidence. This sort of exaggerated, extraordinary situation. He had only wanted to catch the escaped criminal, yet he had randomly picked up a bag full of money, and this bag was the key item in another massive case. He truly could not understand this level of miracle. If it was not for Yang Wentao escaping into this collapsed cavern, if it was not for him hitting Yang Wentao with the rock, causing the rocks to collapse, if he had not moved the rocks to save Yang Wentao, then, he and this bag would have never met. Then, could it be, this nearly impossible to solve, massive case, would have continued to sleep, never to see the light of the day? Remembering back to the office that afternoon, once Zhao Yu realized that the bag was connected to the case, he already realized he could not hide it anymore. Even though this bag could be worth millions, but to be connected to a case with so much influence, it just was not fun and games anymore. Thus, Zhao Yu immediately called Ping Xian, an investigator in Team A. Then, in front of everyone, he honestly described the entire process of how he got the bag. When everyone finished listening, no one could speak for a full 3 minutes. Everyone was stunned. Even Lu Xueshan, an old investigator with more than 20 years of experience, had never seen something so miraculous. Inside of this bag was the kidnapper's money from 26 years ago? Using this bag, could they finally discover the truth behind the case? Those children that were kidnapped back then, what happened to them? Are they still alive? Could there still be other clues hidden within the collapsed cavern? Ping Xian also realized the weight of the situation. Not only did she find Lu Changhu immediately, but she even called over the more experienced Chu Ping. At that point, no one had any mind for tricks or pride. The more people, the better by that point. If they really found evidence for the Mianling kidnapping case, this was no longer a matter of rewards or prizes, this could affect the entire police squad of Qinshan. Yet, out of all the investigators, only Lu Changhu was out of the loop. Even now, he still wanted to blame Zhao Yu, asking, with something so important, why didn't you report it earlier? Why did you take the money? If closing the case is interrupted by this, I'll ask you, etc. In the end, Lu Changhu's ill-intentioned scolding finally got to Zhao Yu. He scooped up an empty coffee cup and threw it once again at Lu Changhu. Lu Changhu had turned in fear, and the cup slammed heavily into his spine. Hey, Lu Huan saw the situation turn sour, and immediately came up and pulled on Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu! Liu Changhu had wanted to give Zhao Yu a piece of his mind, but Chu Ping suddenly popped up and roared at Liu Changhu, "Captain Liu, please be more professional, okay? You're the captain of a police team." Hearing Chu Ping's vicious roar, Liu Changhu was completely thunderstruck. The investigators had never seen team leader Chu so angry, not to mention, the target of her anger was her boss. "Zhao Yu found such important evidence, yet, you still have the heart to dispute with him? If he had wanted to keep the money for himself, why would we be here right now?" Chu Ping scolded, completely angry. "This isn't some normal case, this is the Mianling kidnapping case. This isn't a case Rongyang Prince can take care of by ourselves. If you aren't going and alerting the higher-ups, what are you doing?" Seeing Chu Ping's angered form, Liu Changhu could not help but shiver. Finally realizing the gravity of this case, he immediately pulled out his phone to make the calls. New N0vel chapters are published on n0v/e/lb/in/co/m. Peng xin. Chu Ping commanded, very much like the leader she was. "Later, after the higher-up know the details, we have to immediately start investigating. The entire office has to move out, so make sure to have your squad prepared beforehand." "Oh." Peng xin nodded. "Zhao Yu." Chu Ping turned to Zhao Yu, "Because you were the one to find the evidence, you have to describe the detail of the case completely, especially the location of the bag. Ask Li Baini to help you, and put the information in a report ASAP. Let every leader see this report, and in the end, make sure to take it to the provincial office." "Oh." Because Chu Ping had just helped him just now, Zhao Yu's attitude towards Chu Ping shifted greatly. He immediately nodded in agreement. "Yao Hui, hurry up and give a call to Department Leader Wang Fei." Chu Ping pointed at the bag and the money and told her underling, "Tell her to send someone to take the evidence and investigate thoroughly, try to have the information back in the shortest time possible." The investigator named Yao Hui nodded, then immediately went to call. Even though Zhao Yu felt a bit pained from losing the money, he knew clearly that this money was not meant to be his. Even though the kidnapped children were missing, the parents were still around. This money had to be returned. Also, if there were any fingerprints and such on the bills, it could be an important piece of evidence for solving the case. "Everyone listen to me." Chu Ping called all the investigators and raised her voice. Mianling's massive kidnapping case was called the first cold case of Qinshan. Now that we have obtained first-hand evidence for the case, following the rules, this difficult investigation is now Rongyang Key Case Investigation Unit's responsibility. I think I don't need to repeat the importance of this case. Chu Ping shook slightly, her eyes glanced at Zhao Yu before she continued, "I want to say, everyone shake off your conflicts and work together. If we can solve this huge case, then it will be the glory of all glories for Rongyang branch. We will be recorded in the history of the Qinshan police team." The rain was getting heavier. Raindrops splattered on the car window, and nothing other than the pale headlights could be seen outside. The excavation team had already been in the mine pit for more than 2 hours, but there were still no news from them. Zhao Yu and the dog sat in the back seat of the car, whereas Dafei from Team A sat in the driver's seat. Dafei had joined a year before Zhao Yu and was only 1 year older, but he kept a bushy beard and looked like a nearly 50-year-old artist. "Bro Yu," Dafei said to Zhao Yu out of boredom. "It's been 26 years. I'm only 24 this year. If the kids who were kidnapped are still alive, they should be quite old, yeah?" Zhao Yu remained quiet, but Dafei had made him start thinking about the case. In his past life, Zhao Yu knew a thing or two about kidnapping. He personally thought that if the hostage was not sent back after the ransom had been paid, the possibility of the hostage being killed was already 99%. Although no one wanted to think of the worst-case scenario, Zhao Yu felt that misfortune had already struck the kidnapped children. Since the 5 hostages were all children, this case had caused a big stir in Qingshan when it appeared. Bro, you! Dafei kept stroking his own arms due to the cold weather. Why do you think the ransom money appeared inside a collapsed mine pit? Unexpectedly, the car door suddenly opened just as Dafei finished his question, and a drenched Liang Huan climbed into the passenger seat. Oh my goodness, the rain's getting. He brushed off the water on his body and stretched out his hand to Dafei. Got cigarettes? Gimme one. Due to the importance of this case, the leaders had made a decision to temporarily transfer Liang Huan and Zhang Jingfeng, who were familiar with this case, back to Zhao Yu's cold case team and join in the investigation. In other words, after being gone for a quick 2 weeks, these 2 men were miraculously back on the key case investigation unit. Yes, yes, yes. Dafei quickly took out a cigarette, but Zhao Yu roared from the back seat, "Hey, what cigarettes? The windows can't be opened, won't we choke to death?" The old Zhao Yu was a die-hard smoker, but now he did not even cared for a puff. Not only did he not smoke, but he was also against others smoking. Ah! Liang Huan did not care and took over the cigarette. I'll just lower the window a little, won't that do? It's just a cigarette, it's not gonna kill you. Woof woof woof, the dog in the back seat suddenly barked at Liang Huan. See that? Zhao Yu started to say, I'll get the dog to bite you if you dare to smoke. Go outside if you want to smoke. Tsk tisk, Liang Huan looked at the dog and Zhao Yu before putting the cigarette into his pocket reluctantly. Liang, Dafei quickly continued, what's happening inside? Any development? It's almost 1. You're asking me? Liang Huan said with despondency. The leaders are all waiting back there. What should we be anxious about? Liang, Dafei asked again, do you think anything can be dug out from inside the mine pit? Liang Huan clucked his tongue and said, how would I know? Zhao, Liang Huan turned to ask Zhao Yu in the back seat, you were the one who found the item, why didn't you follow them inside? They'd better not search the wrong place again. I've gone in once. Zhao Yu said, they told me I was not needed, so I came out again. It can't be wrong. When I received aid that time, I recorded the coordinates. Oh, Liang Huan laughed wittily. Young man, are you secretly hoping that there is more money under the rocks? You wrote down the coordinates so you could go in and again? Zhao Yu laughed wickedly and stuck his middle finger at Liang Huan. It's really strange. Bro, you actually dug out a bag of money. Dafei took a glance at Zhao Yu and said, Tsk, why do you think the ransom money from 26 years ago was inside there? This is really odd. This place is a great distance from where the kidnappings took place. What exactly happened that year? You better save it. Liang Huan waved his hand, it's also possible that they dig nothing out. The case has not been solved after 26 years, which proves that the higher the expectations, the greater the disappointment. Dafei suddenly lowered his voice and said mysteriously, I used to hear the older generation say, this case was very strange. Hey! Enough! Liang Huan cut him off immediately and scolded him, you're making it sound like they were ghosts. To put it simply, our police force was incapable of catching them, and the kidnappers took advantage of that. If today's technology was available back then, any case would have been solved. Yes, 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 Dafei nodded repeatedly. Zhao. Liang Huan turned his head and said to Zhao Yu, don't be disheartened. According to our country's lost property law, there's also a certain validity period for lost items. Zhang Jingfeng has already started the application for you at the Missing Persons Department. Who knows, you may have a share in the 200,000 RMB. Ah. Zhao Yu suddenly straightened his neck. Really? Really? There's such a thing? Yes. Liang Huan laughed. After it's settled, you will be able to get over 1,000 RMB. Check new Avulchers at novilbin.com. Holy sh*t. Zhao Yu patted the dog's head and shouted, "Poop expert, bite him." Woof woof woof. The dog seemed to understand and wanted to jump onto Liang Huan, but luckily there was a partition between the front and back seats of the police car. Ah! Liang Huan got scared and quickly opened the car door. He ran off as he shouted, "I better get into another car to take a puff." The moment the door opened, a gust of cold air blew in, and raindrops fell into the interior of the car. It was only until Liang Huan closed the car door that peace was restored. Beep beep, beep beep. At this moment, Zhao Yu's phone beeped and it was a message on WeChat. It was already 1 o'clock in the morning. Why was someone sending him a message? Could it be there was news in the mine pit? Zhao Yu quickly unlocked his phone to check. The message was from Captain Miaoying, and it was a few voice messages in a row. Huh? It's her! At that instant, Zhao Yu seemed to have felt something and excitement grew inside him. Beep! After the first voice message was opened, Miao Ying's bright and clear voice spoke, "Zhao Yu, I need to tell you something. We've caught Mi Aijuan." What we had not expected was that when he was being arrested, and without any official interrogation, Mi Aijuan confessed that he killed Jian Wenli. What, really, holy? Zhao Yu clenched his fist in agitation and quickly tapped on the next voice message before he could complete his exclamation. As we had speculated, Miao Ying's voice continued. When Liu Pengfei went to his shop to duplicate the keys, he recognized Liu Pengfei and felt that he could gain something from it. He secretly kept the mold of the key and duplicated a set, waiting for the chance to rob them. A few days later, he heard from his cousins that Jian Wenli's garment factory was receiving a shipment that night, and the couple had to be there to receive the stock. Therefore, he decided to sneak into Jian Wenli's house on that stormy night. However, he had not expected Jian Wenli to be resting at home as Liu Pengfei had arranged. Jian Wenli heard some noise and bumped into Mi Aijuan, who was stealing stuff in the east bedroom. Mi Aijuan wanted to escape, but his appearance was too obvious and Jian Wenli recognized him immediately. Mi Aijuan became angry and strangled Jian Wenli to death before putting her back in the bed. After returning home, Mi Aijuan was afraid that he would be found. Before Zhao Yu could finish listening to the voice message, the walkie-talkie in the car suddenly rang and someone shouted loudly from it, "Attention all units, we have news. They have found something." Ah! Zhao Yu got a shock. Before he could react, the system in his brain suddenly rang again. The current adventure has been completed. The completion rate is 98%. 26 years ago, before sunset. On the meandering mountain highways of Qingshan, a red Changhe van was speeding through. To the right of the highway was the Grand Qingshui River. The setting sun's orange rays poured across on the mountain range in the distance, turning the entire mountain a golden yellow. The sunlight also fell through the car window, pouring upon the happy faces of the children, making them look even more dazzling. There were 5 elementary school children sitting in the car. The oldest, Liang Shuhan, was already in the 6th grade. The youngest, Liang Sisi, was only 7 that year, just starting 1st grade. These 5 students were all children of rich families in Nianling town. Due to the average schooling conditions in Nianling, their parents arranged for their children to attend better schools in the city district instead. They had even hired a special driver to drive the children every day through the mountains. The driver's name was Niu Weiguang. He was also a native of the Mianling area, and usually drove cabs for a living. But because he took this job, his salary became quite respectable. At the moment, Liu Weiguang was humming a happy tune as he drove the car. "Uncle Liu! From the back seat came Liang Cici's youthful voice. "Can you turn on the radio, so we can listen to some songs?" Niu Weiguang smiled gently and extended his hand to turn on the radio, but only static came through the radio. Even changing the station several times did not work. Niu Weiguang spoke apologetically, "The radio might be messed up. Tomorrow I'll go and fix it. Cici, how about this? You can sing a song for us then? Tell Uncle, did you learn any good songs in school?" Lu Cici pouted as she spoke. "I won't sing songs from school. They sound bad. How about, I'll sing Walk Gracefully once. Everyone in my class knows that song." "I know it too." "Me too." Two other boys in the car also eagerly rose their hands. The most up-to-date NVELs are published on n0velgen.co/m. Haha, Niu Weiguang laughed. "You guys are all so smart. Then how about, you guys sing together?" "Okay," Liang Cici was the first to nod. The world is leisurely passing, going hastily onwards like the tides and ebb tides. The youthful sound attracted the interest of all the other children, and everyone started singing together. Love and hate, life and death, old age, a few people can see through. Red dust billowing senselessly Niu Weiguang was also engaged and started humming to the children's song, sometimes even slapping his hand on the wheel to the beat of the song. On the empty mountain highway, only their car continued. But because of the children singing, the red van felt particularly refreshing and happy. Even the car's wheels seemed to have some sort of beat to them. As they drove, a tunnel suddenly appeared on the highway. This tunnel was called the Hujia Mouth Tunnel. The full length was only 2 kilometers. After passing through the tunnel, it was only a 6 or 7 minute drive to Mianling town. Whoosh, the van sped into the tunnel, and the sound of the children singing started fading away. When the car finally disappeared into the darkness, the pitch-black tunnel entrance was suddenly silent, appearing deathly quiet. Back in the present, another ray of warm sunshine passed through the window and poured onto Zhao Yu's face. Zhao Yu laid on the back seat of the car for a whole night. He was already lacking sleep, but with the commotion outside of the car, he immediately opened his eyes. It had been quite a rough night. He had spent the first half awake, but he had not received any orders by the end. No new commands, not even one to allow them to leave, only messages asking for the entire police force to stay put and wait for further instructions. Zhao Yu yawned and looked at his watch. It was already 6 in the morning. The rain from the night before had finally stopped. Sitting in the car, he could still smell the fresh smell of grass after rain. Inside of the patrol car, Defei, in the driver's seat, was still asleep. The Malinois hound was pushed under the seat by Zhao Yu, and was curled up on the floor, also completely asleep. TSK, Zhao Yu began to recall what had happened last night, when everything happened so fast. He tried to organize his thoughts again, wanting to sort all of the complicated matters properly. First, Miao Wing sent him information that they had caught Mi Aizheng. Because Mi Aizheng had already admitted to the crime, it meant that Jian Wenli's case was completely closed. Zhao Yu finally could let this matter go. Even though what would happen was still unclear, at the very least, Lin Meifeng's punishment would definitely be lessened. At the time, he had wanted to tease Miao Wing and ask her to invite him out for food, but unexpectedly, someone reported that they had found something inside the cavern. After exchanging information, Zhao Yu heard that the construction team had apparently found bones during the digging process. The experts in the forensics department had already verified that the bones were human. To think that under these collapsed cavern there was dead people. Then, who was this person? Was this the kidnapper, or the kidnapped? Because the corpse was already dug out, Zhao Yu had thought that once the forensics department finished analyzing, they would leave. However, it had been an entire night and they were still there. Could it be there did not finish collecting things? Maybe because the tunnel collapse was severe, so it was difficult to clean up? At the time, not only was Zhao Yu curious, but the other investigators were confused too. Some people even guessed that maybe there was more than one set of bones. Phew, Zhao Yu calmed his exhausted nerves and began to ponder about his own system again. Last night, just as the radio went off, the miracle system announced his completion rate. Unexpectedly, Zhao Yu's completion rate was a shocking 98%. This was Zhao Yu's highest completion rate to date. He truly could not understand. Why was his completion rate so high this time? Kuan-Jin hexagram. The earth shocked by thunder. Trying to recall his adventure that day, Zhao Yu felt that if Shin represented his status, the explanation was easy. Yesterday, during the police meeting, he had looked amazing. Obviously his position in the police department had increased. But, how do I explain Kun then? What does it really represent? Was it related to closing the case with Jian Wenli? Or, related to discovering the kidnapping case? Zhao Yu wondered. But before he had the time to think, the system immediately announced his prizes. This time, he got 5 items at once. The item's name was interesting. They were called Invisibility Cloak. Mirroring its name, this item was something that let Zhao Yu become invisible. After he used it, other people would not be able to see him. Holy sh**t. Zhao Yu could not help but sigh in amazement. Invisibility? This is an amazing item. Also, I got 5. Once I put this on, I can go to the female showers and bathrooms and see the display. Apparently, my perverted habits are now more quick and advanced than ever before. Although Zhao Yu's idea was good, it was not very plausible. This invisible cloak could only last a mere 60 seconds. Zhao Yu could not help but feel disappointed. How could 1 minute be enough? There were too many things to see. If he were really going to use it in a female bathhouse, he would be exposed before being able to look clearly. According to the past, after an adventure had been completed, a new adventure should be activated. As it was raining heavily outside, Zhao Yu lit up a cigarette in the car, ready for the next message. As a result, Zhao Yu received strong contempt from Dafei. Dafei thought to himself, Zhao Yu's temper is really unpredictable. Just now, Liang Huan wanted to smoke and Zhao Yu was going crazy, but now he wants to smoke? How unreasonable is that? Zhao Yu did not worry about Dafei. After coughing loudly, there was a new hexagram. Canli hexagram. Water and fire, water heavier than fire, heaven and earth compete, clouds sweep the sun and moon, both hearts become clear. Can made Zhao Yu wonder if he was going to deal with a woman that day. Who would it be this time? As for Li, which represented fire, it was still unclear. According to Zhao Yu's analysis, between Li and Sun, one represented family or kinship. Today, he was going to verify which one it was. After the hexagram reading was done, Zhao Yu felt slightly more at ease, and started thinking about other stuff before dozing off in the car until dawn. It was already 6 in the morning. After holding it for one night, he felt his stomach make noises and he needed to use the bathroom. Shaking off his drowsiness, he opened the car door and got out. Seeing his master got out of the car, the dog followed him. Hey! You didn't sleep? Zhao Yu lowered his head to greet him, but the dog had already rushed to the bottom of a small tree to pee. Kiki, Zhao Yu laughed. You also can't hold it anymore, huh? After this, he looked up at the surroundings. Although it was early in the morning, the open area at the bottom of the mountain was more crowded than the day before. The engineers and policemen sent by the higher-ups were all busy working, and the investigation parameters continued to expand. It was nice to be an onlooker. Many villagers from Yinpan town had crowded around early in the morning out of curiosity and were gesturing outside the police cordon as they watched on. Zhao Yu also saw many reporters carrying video cameras and holding mobile phones. The media had gotten the news so fast, they were indeed professionals. There was no toilet at where Zhao Yu was. If he were to go by the standard procedure, he would have to return to the town area and look for a public toilet, and the whole return journey would take at least 20 minutes. Therefore, he quietly walked toward the trees. Unexpectedly, after peeing, the dog followed him while jumping up and down. Not only did he go around Zhao Yu a few times, but he even barked and looked very excited. Follow the latest novels n/velbin.com. Shoo, Zhao Yu quickly stopped him. Stop it, shut up. We're finding a place to pee, it's not nice for others to see. Before Zhao Yu could finish saying, the dog ran toward the trees Zhao Yu had chosen. Zhao Yu looked around again and continued walking after seeing that no one had noticed him. Woof! 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 Soon, the dog's barking sound came from the trees. Not only did he bark happily, he also growled as if he wanted food or sensed danger. Damn! Zhao Yu cursed in silence. Silly dog, what are you barking at? Are you afraid that others can't see that I'm peeing? However, he really could not take it anymore. Seeing that he was already at a quiet place, he started to unfasten his belt and get ready to pee. Woof! Woof! The dog barked again. Unexpectedly, after the dog barked, an ah sound suddenly came from the bushes. Zhao Yu got a shock and almost could not control his urine. Was whoever the ah sound came from actually a woman? Woof! 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 The dog was still barking madly at the bushes, as if he had met an enemy. Zhao Yu noticed that something could have happened. He quickly held his pants and rushed over as he shouted at the dog, "Hey, stop barking. You want a beating." Shortly after, he was shocked to see that there was actually someone squatting in the bushes. It was a woman. A woman in a police uniform. And it was a woman who was relieving herself. What drove Zhao Yu even crazier was that this woman in a police uniform and relieving herself was none other than his bureau chief, Wan Xiaoxiao. Oh my goodness! Zhao Yu's forehead was suddenly filled with black lines and the muscles on his face started trembling. At that moment, Wan Xiaoxiao also saw Zhao Yu, and her face turned red immediately. It was extremely embarrassing. Zhao Yu reacted quickly. Once he saw that it was the bureau chief relieving herself, he quickly picked up a branch from the ground and pretended to throw it at the dog as he shouted, "Get lost! Quick! Where did this wild dog come from?" Seeing that his master was angry, the dog cooperated and quickly went into hiding. Zhao Yu only heaved a sigh of relief after seeing that the dog had ran away. To disassociate himself from the dog, he quickly said to Bureau Chief Luan, "It's okay now, the dog has been chased away by me." Please, he had wanted to say please continue but felt that it was inappropriate. He quickly gave Bureau Chief Luan a salute and wanted to quickly disappear, however, he had forgotten something important while in a rush. He had not fastened his belt. It had not paid off to give the salute. His pants fell right to the ground. The already embarrassed Bureau Chief Luan's face turned green. 5 minutes later, Zhao Yu squatted on the ground and kept scolding the dog. He finally understood why the dog found Bureau Chief Luan in such a short time. He was indeed a poop expert that lived up to its name. He must have gone for the poop just then. Depressing, this will not do, should the dog be disciplined? Zhao Yu thought. However, the dog was quite smart. Seeing that his master was boiling mad, he had already hidden far away and stopped moving forward. At that point, Bureau Chief Luan had already gone back into the police car. When she walked past Zhao Yu, she did not say a single word, but Zhao Yu could sense that Bureau Chief Luan was shaking all over and was obviously very angry. Great, I've offended the bureau chief just by going for a pee, and I've offended her to the extreme. How did this happen? Why did my pants also drop? And Bureau Chief Luan, you're also too much. As a woman, shouldn't you get someone to guard for you when you relieve yourself? Arg! Can hexagram. Woman! To think that I had to meet the first woman like this. My goodness, that was really embarrassing. If I see Bureau Chief Luan again in future, oh my. I can't imagine. Zhao Yu was moping to himself when he saw Hu Bin in white overalls walking over from the mountain. After taking off his cap and mask, Zhao Yu could see that he was pale and sweating all over, and looked extremely exhausted. Other than the engineering team in charge of excavation, the ones who had worked the hardest the night before were workers from the forensics department. In order not to miss any clue or evidence, they had worked the entire night in the oxygen-deprived mine pit. Zhao Yu was unsure of the situation in the mine pit and wanted to ask Hu Bin. However, just as he reached Hu Bin, noises suddenly came from the mountain. There were more collectors coming out of the mine pit, and they were even holding a few white bags in their hands. Zhao Yu was aware that those were bags used by the forensics department for corpses. By the time the higher-ups finally ordered for everybody to return, it was already 10:30 in the morning. The forensics departments had dug out numerous sets of human bones that night. Due to the bones being buried deeply within the rocks, and completely scattered, not to mention the water buildup, the search job had been extremely difficult. At the moment, the squads outside were gradually leaving, but Department Leader Wang Fei still made part of the collectors remain on scene to continue working, not leaving any evidence behind if possible. Zhao Yu heard from Hu Bin that the bones at the scene were scattered and damaged badly. According to the experts, the corpses must have encountered some strong impact. The experienced engineers also mentioned that the cave clearly had evidence of an explosion. It was very possible that this tunnel collapse had been caused intentionally. Also, Hu Bin told Zhao Yu secretly that even though the cleanup and identification of the bones would take a long time, the skulls were very complete. Using the skulls, they figured out that there were at least 5 people inside the cave. 5 people? Could it be? Sigh. Hu Bin could not help but sigh. Out of those 5 skulls, some of them were children's judging by the size. So, Hu Bin stopped. Everyone was already prepared, but it still felt hard to swallow this sort of disastrous news. 5 children tragically died inside of the cavern, then were buried away for a whole 26 years. Such tragedy was unbelievable. At the same time, the investigators could not help but be angry. Who would kill these children? To do something so inhumane and cruel? During that moment, everyone secretly promised to themselves that they would definitely close this 26-year-old case and persecute the inhumane kidnappers. But no matter how agitated the investigators were, the majority of the responsibility was still on the shoulders of the forensic scientists. Only after they identified the corpses could the investigators begin the follow-up work. Thus, the higher-ups decided to temporarily allow the key case investigation unit's investigators to leave, and let the police station first plan out their initial investigation, then move out together after getting the results from the forensics department. Indeed, this case was very complicated. Even though they may have found what seemed like the bodies of the kidnapped children, if they did not have the forensic reports, it was impossible to be sure. Everything had to be planned properly. Since people had already waited 26 years, they could wait a bit longer. Maybe it would not be not far from when the truth would be revealed. Zhao Yu, of course, followed the police team back. But on the way back, he kept considering a strange question and the bag of ransom money he found inside the cave. That's not right. If the 5 bodies in the cave were indeed the students who were kidnapped, then murdered. Then, what's with this bag of random money, he thought. Was the kidnapper an idiot? The people were already killed, but this guy threw the money away. That's completely nonsensical, right? Why would they leave the money at the murder scene? Was it their conscience? Or did an accident occur? Could it be there was a driver who was also kidnapped? Then where was the driver? Including him, there should be 6 people, but at the scene there were only 5 bodies. Could it be, just like the information on the case, the driver, Niu Weiguang, was cooperating with the kidnappers and joined in the kidnapping? Truly perplexing. This case doesn't betray its name of Qingshan's first cold case. We haven't even officially started the investigation, but the puzzle just keeps getting more complicated. By the time they got back to the police station, it was already time to get off work. Originally, Zhao Yu was supposed to go and eat with the provincial official, Su Yang, but department leader Su had sent him a message that morning telling him that he had to go out of town for work so they could not eat together. He said he would invite him out again to make it up to Zhao Yu later. It was good he could not eat, Zhao Yu thought. Firstly, he was already exhausted and wanted to rest, and secondly, department leader Su had a strange temper. If Zhao Yu said something wrong and ended up angering the other, then he would be in serious trouble. It was almost time for dinner, so there were not many people outside on Shunfeng Street. Below his building, Zhao Yu ran into Jiang Shaoqing, who was taking care of the stand. The girl was holding a bowl of instant noodles and was eating as she read. Zhao Yu remembered that it was Sunday. Jiang Shaoqing was enjoying her weekend. "Girlie, where'd your dad go?" Zhao Yu grinned as he asked. Jiang Shaoqing raised her head. When she saw Zhao Yu and his dog, she asked curiously, "You, how did you get a dog?" "Also, my dad went to the hospital." "Oh, to the hospital." Upon hearing that Jiang Dafeng was not around, Zhao Yu let down his guard and nabbed a tangerine off the stand and started peeling it. Jiang Shaoqing was used to Zhao Yu's shamelessness and did not mind it, but she was interested in Zhao Yu's dog and asked, "Hey, isn't this a police dog?" "Yep, police hound." Zhao Yu feigned seriousness and started commanding the dog, "Go, greet your sister." Off. Be more serious." Jiang Shaoqing stuck out her tongue at Zhao Yu and asked, "Why did you bring a dog home?" "If my dad knew, he'd go crazy. He hates dogs." "That has nothing to do with me. This dog follows me, and he'll live with me starting now." Zhao Yu could not care less about Jiang Dafeng. "Follows you? What kind of wording is that?" Jiang Shaoqing giggled, but extended her hand to pat the dog. Sherlock Holmes was quite obedient and happily nuzzled its way in front of the girl and wagged its tail non-stop, as if trying to gain her favor. Indeed, a police hound. So obedient. Jiang Shaoqing was even happier and asked, "Doesn't your police team have places just for police dogs? Why do you take it home?" That's..." Zhao Yu rolled his eyes, then started making up a story. "I won't lie to you. This police dog has nowhere to go. A few days ago, it helped me catch a murderer. But its leg was injured, so the police team wanted to send it away, but I couldn't bear to do that, so I took it home. If I can't keep it, then..." "Oh, so it's like that." Jiang Shaoqing was especially loving. She spoke after she pondered, "Okay. If my dad gets angry at you, I'll go tell him. I should be able to convince him." "Oh. That's great. So loyal of you." Zhao Yu spoke, and then immediately finished off the tangerine, leaving the peel. Right." Jiang Shaoqing petted the dog's head and spoke, "What's its name?" Zhao Yu originally wanted to say sh*Holmes, but felt like it was an inappropriate name. Xiao Qing was still eating after all. So, he just decided to make it up. The police team only has serial numbers. Now that it lives with me, I really don't know what to call it. Why don't you give it a name? Really? I can? Jiang Xiaoqing's eyes lit up and she spoke excitedly. Then, that's great. Actually, I really love dogs. When I was younger we had one, but it died. Can we call it my old dog's name, call it Daheng? Daheng? Zhao Yu's brows furrowed. What kind of name is this? Actually, it's like this. Jiang Xiaoqing looked a little downcast as she spoke. My dad originally had a younger brother. Grandma named him Jiang Daheng, but he died not long after he was born. So I named the dog after him to memorialize him. If you call it that, my dad might allow you to keep the dog then. Jiang Dafeng. Jiang Daheng? Blood siblings too? Wah ha. Zhao Yu could not help himself and immediately clapped his hand and laughed. Good, good. This name is the best. As he spoke, he kicked the hound on the butt. All right, boy, that's your name now, you're now Jiangda. Oh, no, you're now Daheng. It was hard to tell if it understood or not, but the dog still barked twice in response. Daheng, Jiang Xiaoqing spoke affectionately to the dog. Did you eat yet? I'll get you something to eat. Seeing Jiang Xiaoqing liking his own dog so much, Zhao Yu also felt happy. He originally wanted to speak a bit more with the girl, but suddenly saw three rather aggressive people heading towards them. When the three arrived at the crosswalk beside the fruit stand, they stopped and looked at the building. The tall, skinny man to the right of the fat, pale man spoke. Bro, I searched. That chick should live here. Above Yang's hair salon. As he spoke, he held a woman's bag under his arm. The fat man in the middle looked rather fierce. Around his neck dangled a noticeably large gold necklace. He was cracking nuts in his hand. There was a cobra tattoo right under his ear. He clearly looked like a fierce guy. Hee hee, let's go. The fatty turned his head, and the three immediately entered the building, heading upstairs. Up from the fruit stall were only 3 households. One was Jiang Dafeng's family on the 2nd floor, one was Zhao Yu's house on the 3rd floor, and the other one was Yang Hong and the other beauty's house opposite them. The tall man had mentioned the word chick, so these few men were obviously targeting Yang Hong's house. Connecting this to the night before when Hua Hua got beat up, and also the conversation between her and Yang Hong, Zhao Yu could already figure out what was happening. It was obvious that these people were here to cause trouble for them. Jiang Xiaoqing had also seen the situation just now and stuck out her tongue at Zhao Yu. Who are these people? They look very fierce. Are they looking for you? Zhao Yu lowered his head and pondered if he should go mediate the situation. By right, he should not meddle in such things. Who knew, it might cause trouble for himself. But, Yang Hong was his friend after all and lived opposite of him. Most importantly, he was a policeman. Whether for official or personal reasons, it seemed like he should not turn a blind eye to it. With that thought, he nodded at Jiang Xiaoqing. Young girl, help me look after the dog, I'm going up to take a look. Oh! Jiang Xiaoqing touched the dog on his head and asked worriedly, why not, you bring the dog with you? In case. Kikik, Zhao Yu laughed at Jiang Xiaoqing's adorable worried look. Don't worry, your godfather's not so weak as to need the dog's help yet. With this, Zhao Yu quickly went into the corridor. Jiang Xiaoqing paused for a while before shooting back softly, when did you become my godfather? This fella. Woof woof, hearing the dog bark, the young girl stroked the dog's head again and said affectionately, come, I have delicious food here. At the other end, Zhao Yu followed the men silently upstairs. The men had already reached the third floor and were knocking hard at Young Hong's door. As he was still unsure of the situation, Zhao Yu stood in the corridor on the second floor and listened attentively. Bang! 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 They banged on the door fiercely and someone even kicked it violently. B*TCH, stop hiding! The fair-skinned fat man shouted ferociously, I have your key here. If you still don't open the door, I'm gonna open it myself. Hehehe, the small window at Yang Hong's house opened and Yang Hong's anger could be heard from inside. Hong Jitao. You're too much of a bully. You beat a person up and snatched her things, now you still want to make trouble for us? Are you human? Ho ho, the fair-skinned fat man said ferociously, you still dare to talk so righteously? Where's Hua Hua? Tell her to come and talk to me. This B*TCH doesn't know the rules. She came to do business in my territory without even giving me a greeting. If this gets out, how am I gonna face the world? No, that's not true. Huahua's timid and defensive voice came from inside, I already greeted your men when I first arrived at Chaohai Street. I followed the rules, but you guys went back on your word. Damn, the fair-skinned fat man punched the anti-theft door. Young girl, you're lying through your teeth. Who did you greet? You came to my territory, but did not greet me. What's the use of talking to those little punks? Hong Jitao. Young Hong shouted, don't push it. A group of men bullying a little girl, what is this? Hua Hua is only a kid, if there's really anything that she did wrong, she can just apologize. Why do you have to beat her up? You're giving her no other way out. I'm warning you, this matter shall be put to rest. I'm gonna call the police if you still don't leave. Ho ho, the fair-skinned fat man smiled grimly. Who do you are? This matter should be put to rest just by you saying? I #% at an asterisk hashtag email protected, $$ asterisk hashtag and $% at hashtag $% at asterisk, wanna call the police? Go ahead! I'll wait here and see if you dare to call. After calling, the consequences will be for the two of you. Zhao Yu listened for a while downstairs. To an experienced gangster like him, he already understood the whole situation. His identity was now of a policeman's. If he went up and showed his police badge, the other party would behave themselves and retreat, and he would be able to help Young Hong out of her predicament. However, that would not solve the root of the problem. The man was obviously out to get Hua Hua and would not just give up like that. If he frightened them away this time, it would only put Young Hong and Hua Hua in more danger. Then, what was the best way to solve this? If this had happened to Zhao Yu in his past life, this issue could be easily solved. He would have gathered all of his subordinates and fight these men to the end. However, the Zhao Yu now was different from Zhao Yu of the past. Bashing them up as a policeman was definitely not the best choice. These local tyrants were different from scammers. Most of them had a strong backing. If you fought them once, it would only invite their more brutal counterattacks. Offending people who did not act openly would only put oneself in more danger. Therefore, a more appropriate solution was needed to deal with people like this. Zhao Yu racked his brain and quickly came up with an idea. To deal with such tyrants, there was only one way, which was to beat him to his last breath so that he would not have the chance to live again. After making the decision, he retreated to the first floor and found a quiet corner before giving Young Hong a call. Young Hong quickly answered the call and Zhao Yu spoke before she got a chance. Don't say anything, listen to me. Later, you just need to do two things. Listen up. First, don't say that I'm a police officer. Second, don't say that I live opposite of you. Got it? You, what? Young Hong was confused. Don't say that I'm a police officer, and don't say that I live opposite of you. Zhao Yu added, listen up, if you want me to help you, you've gotta listen to me, understood? Oh, yes, got it, but Zhao Yu hung up before Young Hong could finish. After reaching the second floor, he turned on his phone's recording function and continued to the third floor. You, what else do you want? You have already taken my things. Hua Hua was almost in tears. What do I want? Heh heh heh, the fair-skinned fat man laughed insidiously. Of course I want an explanation from you. You better open the door quick. With this, the fat man punched fiercely at the door again and signaled for the tall man to take out the key. Hey, 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 Zhao Yu at the bottom of the stairs and shouted, brothers, what's all this commotion about in the middle of the day? Huh. The three men stopped immediately and turned their heads to look at Zhao Yu. Damn. The tall man stood in front of Zhao Yu and shouted with disdain, who are you? This is none of your business. Scram! Kikik, Zhao Yu did not get angry but was all smiles instead. He held his fists together and said to the three men, big brothers, I am Brother Tianba from Shunfeng Street, it's a pleasure meeting all of you. Pleasure my foot. The bald man roared arrogantly, who do you think you are? Didn't you hear? This is none of your business. Get lost. Eh? That's not true. Zhao Yu said cheekily. You guys are blocking my sister's door and shouting, how is that none of my business? Oh. The fair-skinned fat man appeared to have understood something and glanced at Zhao Yu. Bro, what do you mean? Don't tell, you've been hired by that mad woman to talk to me? Brother Tianba from Shunfeng Street? I haven't heard of you before. Are you sure? Zhao Yu pretended to be shocked / you haven't heard of my resounding name? All of Shunfeng Street is under my protection. May I know who you are? The fat man laughed after hearing this. The tall man quickly continued, my brother is Master Hong from Cha Hai Street. All the restaurants and tea houses in Cha Hai Street are managed by our Master Hong. What's a small Shunfeng Street? There are only vegetable sellers and fishmongers here. Who do you think you are? The three men looked at one another scornfully and laughed. Up-to-date OVLS on OVL bin.cm. Oh! Zhao Yu pretended to be shocked and held his fists together again. So it's Master Hong. Please pardon my disrespect. This, he pointed at the anti-theft door and asked doubtfully, what happened? May I ask who has offended you? Seeing Zhao Yu treating himself with so much respect, the fat man was very pleased and said, you gotta ask those two women inside. With this, the fair-skinned white man repeated the incident of how Hua Hua was ignorant about the rules. Oh! I had thought it was something major. Zhao Yu laughed out loud and quickly knocked on the door as he shouted, all right, it's fine now, Hua Hua and Hong Hong, open the door quick. It's okay now, I'm here. Young Hong's face was full of anxiety and looked very nervous, however, with Zhao Yu's eye signal, she still turned the doorknob and opened the door. Well, Master Hong. Zhao Yu pointed at Young Hong and Hua Hua, these two women are under my care. They are still new and ignorant. Please listen to me, if there's anything just let me know. Please tell me how do you think this matter should be settled? How to settle? The fat man looked lustfully at Hua Hua and laughed, do I have to say it out loud? Oh, Zhao Yu laughed out loud and pointed at the lady's bag held by the tall man. Ah. It's my fault, all my fault. You've brought the bag back, and came here personally. Of course it wouldn't be for money. Ah. If you want the person, you could have just said so earlier. With this, Zhao Yi raised his hand at Yang Hong and Hua Hua. How about this? I'll let the two of them wait on you, will that do? What? Yang Hong and Hua Hua were shocked. Huh. The fat man nodded in contentment. At least you're sensible. Let them wait on me this afternoon and I'll write off this issue. That's really wonderful. Zhao Yu praised and waved his hand at the two women again. What are the two of you still standing there for? Invite Master Hong in, quickly. No. Definitely not. Hua Hua used her hands to protect her body as she angrily roared at Zhao Yu. How could you do that? Are you working with them? Even though Yang Hong had gotten Zhao Yu's secret phone call and knew that he was here to help, she could not help but feel uneasy as she watched him cooperate with the gangsters. Hee, girl, you're quite stubborn. Zhao Yu glared at Yang Hong, then held up his chin. You two should be smarter. Go to the bathroom and wash up nicely so you can serve our customers later. Got it? As he spoke, Zhao Yu tried to gesture with his face for her to listen. Yang Hong was very confused, but pulled Hua Hua into the bathroom anyway. Here, Zhao Yu immediately made way for the group and grinned at the pale fat man. Sir Hong, I've heard about you for quite some time. Your name has truly spread far and wide. I didn't think that such a powerful man like yourself would set his eye on Hua Hua. If I had known earlier, I would have sent her to you long ago, he. Hearing Zhao Yu's words, the man felt quite happy. He started smiling proudly and strutted into the room. Zhao Yu still had a grin plastered on his face. Right, Sir Hong, are you really the Hong who commands all of Shuhai Jia? Obviously. The tall, skinny man raised his head proudly. How could that be fake? You can't say that. Zhao Yu smiled. I'm just a lowly citizen. I've only heard of Sir Hong's name, but I've never seen him in person. If you guys came using your name for free food, then I wouldn't allow it. Besides, if it really was Sir Hong, wouldn't he already have some ladies to play with? Why would he come all this way for Hua Hua on Shunfeng Street? You, the tall, skinny man exclaimed. Also, Zhao Yu did not let the other interrupt him and continued, just to play with a girl. Not only did you threaten her, but you also set a trap for her. That is much too degrading. It doesn't seem like something a big man such as yourself would do, don't you think? Huh? The three realized something was wrong with what Zhao Yu was saying. The tall, skinny man pointed a finger at Zhao Yu and exclaimed, What are you trying to say? Are you looking for a beating? Kid! The fat man cracked the walnut in his hand loudly. Listen here, I am indeed Hong Jitao of Cha Hai Street, in the flesh. You were right, I do indeed have my own women, but I got my eye on little Hua Hua, and I want to play with her a bit. What do you want to do about it? Hearing the fat man speak harshly, the bald man beside him immediately started glaring. He put his hands on his waist as if he was ready to fight. No! No way! Zhao Yu still shook his head. I won't lie to you. I know everybody well. I remember that Cha Hai Street's biggest bar, Hai Long Bar, isn't under your jurisdiction. I also heard that the medicine quality there is the best, but even Sir Hong couldn't get it. Bullsh *T. The tall, skinny man cursed. How is Hai Long Bar not under our Sir Hong's command? The people who run the place all listen to Sir Hong. Also, in places commanded by Sir Hong, how could there be any low-quality goods? No. Zhao Yu stubbornly shook his head. I ate with a man named De Jiaolong before. He said that the Wenqing entertainment girls had no relationship to Sir Hong. Blah. The tall, skinny man clenched his teeth, annoyed. That person doesn't exist. The boss of Wenxing is called Zhao Yuan. He calls Sir Hong uncle. All of their businesses belongs to Sir Hong. Huh? Zhao Yu feigned shock and kept asking, then the Huanhai nightclub and Yuegang restaurant definitely doesn't have anything to do with Sir Hong, right? Those two have no drugs or pretty ladies. Jesus! The tall, skinny man shook his head. Where did you hear that from? Just yesterday, Sir Hong helped them get a new supply. The girls are there as well. Where did you hear all of this? San. As if realizing something, the fat man immediately told the skinny man to shut up, then turned angrily to Zhao Yu. Kiddo, are you done yet? What do you want? Oh, almost. Zhao Yu shrugged. There's just one thing I don't understand. What is it? The tall, skinny man furrowed his brow and asked. Zhao Yu finally stopped smiling and asked seriously, Sir Hong is truly impressive, but if I were to disable him, then would my reputation as the God King of Shunfeng Street rise? Huh? The three men paused. The bald man with the big build realized something was wrong and immediately raised his large fist in front of Zhao Yu, threatening him. Kiddo! What are you trying to say? Wahahaha, seeing the man's fist, Zhao Yu started laughing maniacally, even bending down to grab his knees. 2 minutes later, after some rustling and swinging noises had died down, Yang Hong and Hua Hua finally tiptoed out of the bathroom. Once they came out, they were completely stunned by what they saw. The fat man and his two companions were stacked on top of each other like a tower. All three of them were bruised and battered, barely recognizable. Then they saw Zhao Yu holding Hong Jitao's walnuts. As if he were praying, he laid on the couch meditating with his eyes closed. Ow! Boof! The three of them moaned non-stop, looking as pitiful as possible. This, Yang Hong was completely stunned. She originally expected that Zhao Yu would negotiate his way out of this problem, but to think that he had used violence. She knew that even though Hong Jitao was an awful person, he had a great deal of influence. Zhao Yu hitting him would only make matters worse. Here! Zhao Yu bent down and threw the woman's bag on the table at Hua Hua. This is yours, right? Hua Hua grabbed the bag, but her eyes continued to rest on Zhao Yu. Her expression loosed as if she had seen a ghost. Hua Hua, Zhao Yu kicked the pale fat man, your face was injured by him, right? Hua Hua nodded. Then, do you want revenge? Zhao Yu laughed as he asked. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. If you don't do it now, there will be no other chances. Oh, Hua Hua hesitated, but immediately shook her head. No. Zhao, Yang Hong originally wanted to call out Officer Zhao, but remembering Zhao Yu's warning, she only asked, this person, you can't touch him. What are we going to do now? Hehehe, Zhao Yu cackled and kicked the pale fat man again, yelling, hey, you guys still aren't going to run? Did you guys enjoy getting beat up? Hong Jitao took a few steps forward and barely managed to support himself by holding onto a clothes rack. He angrily yelled at Zhao Yu, kid, ow, if you dare, then wait for me. Okay. Zhao Yu slapped his fist. Sir Hong, I'll wait. You hurry up and call more people, the faster the better, the more the better. I'll wait, I'll really wait. Fine. Just you wait, ow, he clutched his chest and staggered towards the hallway. It took 10 more seconds before the bald man and the skinny, tall man also crawled out the door, following Hong Jitao. Seeing the three leave, Yang Hong was almost crazy with anger. She immediately yelled at Zhao Yu, off your Zhao, what are you trying to do? Did you know that Hong Gai is one of the strongest men in Qinshan? You're a police officer, so you're fine. But what about us? We're going to die by your hand. Did you know that? Shut up. Zhao Yu suddenly stood up, making Yang Hong and Hua Hua tremble in shock. You two really couldn't tell? Zhao Yu spoke coldly. Did you guys really think I invited Hong Jitao in here just to play with Hua Hua? What do you mean? The two women were both stunned and afraid. What do I mean? Zhao Yu smirked and grinned. Evil of the street. Using a professional term, oh no, it's they call you guys free money machine, do you get it? In other words, you guys have a difference in interest. The reason why Hong Jitao kept trying to get with Hua Hua was to push you guys into a corner. Once you guys were out of options, then he would take advantage of the situation and take you guys away, and use you guys to make money for him. This is called, never mind. Too professional, no need to tell you guys. Huh? Yang Hong and Hua Hua were both stunned. Hua Hua finally realized the situation and spoke. They're truly the worst, huh? Diascover dated novels on NOV/E/Lbin.co. The worst? Zhao Yu laughed. This is called the worst? To me, oh, no. I was saying, this is just child's play. There are still many things that you guys have never even heard of. Yang Hong. Hua Hua's tears started rolling down her face. How about, let's run and hide for a bit. Hey! Aren't you two forgetting about me, Zhao Yu? Zhao Yu laughed sneakily. Let me tell you, I've already taken care of Hong Jitao. When I say I've taken care of something, I mean that it's completely taken care of, got it? They won't come looking for trouble from you guys anymore. But, the two were even more confused. All right. Let's talk actual business now. Zhao Yu's smile faded and he spoke seriously. Zhao Yu, never do things for free. Since I helped you guys with something so big, then you guys must be sincere. We cannot break the laws of the streets. What are you going to do? Yang Hong's voice quivered as she asked. What do you think I want? Zhao Yu huffed coldly and pointed to the bathroom. Go back and wash up again. Later, give me the full service. Otherwise, don't blame Zhao Yu for betraying you too. Beep beep, Zhao Yu had just reached home when he got Jiang Xiaoqing's WeChat message. Officer Zhao, I saw the three men crawl out the door just now. Were they beaten up by you? Are you okay? Should I call for an ambulance or the police? Reply ASAP. Zhao Yu laughed and quickly went to the balcony with the phone in his hand. He waved to the worried Jiang Xiaoqing. Xiaoqing, I'm okay. Play with the dog for a while, I have something important to settle. Jiang Xiaoqing had wanted to probe further, but Zhao Yu had already gone back into the house. He found a number in his phone and dialed it immediately. He was calling Supervisor Liu Xiaohong from the Anti-Pornography and Illegal Activities Unit of Rongyang Branch. Hello, is this Supervisor Liu? Do you know who I am? I'm Zhao Yu. Although Zhao Yu and Supervisor Zhao were merely acquaintances, they were in the same branch. Supervisor Liu quickly recognized Zhao Yu's voice and laughed as he replied, Hey? Bro Zhao? This is really unexpected, what's up? Bro, Kiki, Zhao Yu also laughed. As it's an urgent matter, I shall not beat around the bush. I'm calling you because of something really, really important. Oh. As Zhao Yu had solved a few major cases, he had already made a name for himself in all of Rongyang Branch. Since he said that he had something important to discuss, Lu Xiaohong naturally did not dare to ignore it and gave him his full attention. Kiki, Zhao Yu laughed. Bro, I guess you must have heard that a big leader from the province police station will be stationed at our unit. Oh. Lu Xiaohong frowned and quickly nodded. Yes, that's right. The head bureau chief has already introduced him to all of the colleagues in our branch. What's wrong? It's like this. This leader, we know each other personally. I'm not sure if you've heard about that. Zhao Yu asked mysteriously. Yes. Lu Xiaohong said. Of course I've heard. That leader is not friendly with anyone else but you, bro Zhao. You have a really wide network. Please don't say that. Zhao Yu said idly. It's like that. He gave me quite a lot of information when we were having a meal together. And the information mainly concerns you, so I thought to tell you immediately. Don't tell anyone else about this. Visit N0VL/BEIN. For the best novel reading experience. Ah. Lu Xiaohong was stunned. Yes. Don't worry, bro. Actually, it's quite simple. Zhao Yu quickly got to the main topic, seeing that the other party had fallen for his trick. The main reason why he come to our branch is because the illegal gambling activity at some of the red light districts are getting out of hand, and this area has already gotten their attention. With your years of experience, I guess I need not say more. They are not investigating on the illegal activities, but on the conduct of us police officers. Ah. Lu Xiaohong was dumbstruck and he stammered, bro. We've been working hard on this area recently. I guess there shouldn't be any problem. Kikik, I guess you're unaware. Zhao Yu sighed and pretended to be hesitant before telling Lu Xiaohong cautiously, bro, I shall be honest with you, the province police station has already given me a mission, and I've gotten news that illegal activities such as prostitution, gambling, drug dealing, mob fights, and etc. at Cha Hai Street have been really serious recently. I'll send you the evidence in a bit if you don't believe me. It took me great effort to get this piece of information. Ah. Cha Hai Street was under the jurisdiction of Rongyang Branch. If there were any illegal activities going on there, Lu Xiaohong and his anti-pornography and illegal activities unit would be the first to bear the brunt. Lu Xiaohong was extremely terrified by Zhao Yu's news and quickly asked, bro. I believe you, why wouldn't I believe you? Ah, this is such a big news. Thank you for telling me. If you hadn't, I would be in deep trouble. Don't mention it. We're from the same branch and we should stand as one. Zhao Yu continued, you are the first one I thought of when I got this news. Let me put it this way, the higher-ups are now mainly investigating on a local tyrant called Hong Jitao. This man calls himself Master Hong, and he has already done countless illegal activities, and is under special investigation by the provincial police office. I've just received news that he will be doing some major illegal activities in the next hour, bro. If you can get rid of them at this critical juncture, kikik. Oh, Lu Xiaohong already had goosebumps all over. He quickly thanked Zhao Yu, bro, I'm really grateful that you're giving me help at a time like this. Bro, I'm not trying to give myself credit here, Zhao Yu continued with his acting, but even the bureau chief has yet to figure out what the provincial police want exactly. If you were able to settle this nicely now, wouldn't the rest be easy in the future? If you do well next time, don't forget about me. Ah, sure, of course. I'll definitely remember your kindness. Lu Xiaohong said with gratitude. You'll be like my real brother from now on. I'll definitely do a good job. I'll go gather some officers now. Yes, you have to be fast. Zhao Yu advised. Also, you've got to make them strike out when dealing with these organized crime syndicates. Not only do you have to defeat them, but you have to get rid of them completely. Especially that Hong Jitao. He's committed so many crimes and the provincial police has already gotten much evidence against him. If you do less than them, it may not look too good. I understand. Don't worry. I'll definitely check thoroughly. Lu Xiaohong said. Bro, if you're more good stuff in future, don't forget about me. I'll need your advice. Don't worry. Zhao Yu laughed. I'll send you the recording that I got in a little bit. But for now, you better take action fast. All right. I'll talk to you again, bro. Lu Xiaohong patted his chest. No words can express my gratitude, bro. Wait until after the matter is settled and see how I perform. After hanging up, Zhao Yu laughed, feeling satisfied. He started to edit the recording, deleting the beginning and end, and sent Lu Xiaohong only the important parts. With this recording as evidence, Lu Xiaohong would definitely put in great effort. Hehehe, Zhao Yu could not help but laugh and say to himself, I've done such a good deed today, getting rid of a menace to society. Is the completion rate going to be perfect this time? I wonder what good stuff I'll receive this time. However, it could also be understood that the power of the government was still the greatest. With just a phone call, the years of hard work of Hong Jitao and his men was going to be destroyed overnight. Something struck Zhao Yu from the bottom of his heart, making him feel that an evil gangster would never come to a good end no matter how well he did. As a result, he had a new view on life and understanding for his identity as a police officer. He realized that it was not necessary to fight and kill to settle something, and it could still be settled nicely. All right, the tyrant issue had been settled, so what was next? Once he thought about Yang Hong and Hua Hua staying opposite of him, Zhao Yu felt hot all over. Ow, oof, oh, from the lobby came Zhao Yu's banshee-like wailing. The inside of the room was wrapped in a sweet scent, with soft lighting. Yang Hong and Hua Hua were wearing red and white long dresses respectively. One was standing and massaging Zhao Yu's shoulders, the other was squatting down and squeezing his feet. Zhao Yu was wearing a thick pajamas, dangling some grapes he had just bought in his mouth, and squeezing the walnuts he'd taken from Hong Jitao. Even though the environment was a little shabby, Zhao Yu felt quite comfortable, with little worry for what had just happened. Half an hour ago, the entire police force had headed out. With lightning speed, they swept through all of Cha High Street and captured a huge number of criminals, and confiscated a large amount of illegal substances, completely destroying the illegal activities happening secretly on Cha High Street. Coincidentally, just as the police had poured in, Hong Jitao had gathered about 20 people holding all sorts of weapons about to go after Zhao Yu for revenge. The police had assumed that they were trying to resist violently and had been caught in the process. That fight, the 20 underlings were beaten completely into submission, wailing and begging, then all thrown into jail. To show the effectiveness of his actions, Lu Xiaohong sent Zhao Yu a few photos of the scene. In one photo, that arrogant and proud Sir Hong had already lost all his energy. His head hung down as he squatted on the ground, clearly cuffed by the police. When the information came in, Yang Hong and Hua Hua had no clue. The two had even packed up everything in despair, and were ready to say goodbye to Zhao Yu, then go back to their old homes to avoid the storm. Only when Zhao Yu showed them the photos did the two finally understand Zhao Yu's original idea. After all that, Officer Zhao apparently had a plan, and had intended to solve the problem at its root. Little Hua Hua was completely dumbfounded. She truly had not expected Officer Zhao to be so resourceful. Even someone as powerful as Hong Jitao had been so easily taken care of. Such competence, such strength. How was this the same person as the idiot police officer who had been telling her stupid jokes that day on the balcony? This was clearly her savior. Suddenly, Huahua's view of Zhao Yu changed completely. She looked up to Zhao Yu greatly. Her gaze, looking up to Zhao Yu, was mixed with 30% gratefulness and 70% respect. Check new CHPters at novilbin.com. Yang Hong also changed her perspective on Zhao Yu. She paused for the longest time before giving her thanks. Yet, Zhao Yu immediately waved his hands, saying there was no need for thanks. From now on, if they wanted his protection, they could give him something more materialized. Here, I've already showered. Just waiting for your full service now, he had said. Come here, let's see if your skills are truly professional or not. Thus, under Zhao Yu's shameless request, the two put down their luggage and started giving him a back and foot massage. How is it, Mr. Yu? Huahua squeezed Zhao Yu's feet and spoke seductively. I used to study under a professional, so my foot massage skills are quite good. Ow, lighter, lighter. Zhao Yu was so comfortable he was grinning. The grape in his mouth nearly fell out. When Huahua saw, she smiled, but her hand squeezed harder. Miss Hong. Zhao Yu dragged on Yang Hong's long skirt, grinning. I say, this is full service? Feet and back massage is just foreplay, right? When do we get to the next level? Should we, understand each other more deeply? Hee. Yang Hong lightly swayed her hips and smiled at Huahua softly. Huahua, since Officer Zhao helped you so much, then you really should help Zhao Yu release some steam. Huahua's face turned slightly red, and she feigned shyness as she nodded. Huh? Zhao Yu turned his head in a hurry. What, just one? What about you, Miss Hong? You can't scam your customers. No slacking allowed. Oh. Yang Hong crossed her arms and raised her eyebrow. What? You have quite the appetite, huh? I'm telling you, you helping out Huahua has nothing to do with me. Also, you didn't spend any money, what customer? Yet, Yang Hong did not even finish speaking before Zhao Yu's doorbell suddenly rang. The sound of a dog barking came from outside. Crap! Zhao Yu suddenly remembered that his dog was still with Jiang Shaoqing. It must be Jiang Shaoqing returning the dog. Huahua was the closest to the door. She had wanted to turn to open the door, but Zhao Yu blocked her and whispered, No. This is probably the landlord's daughter, she's a kid, let's not. Please move over a bit, sorry. Zhao Yu did not want Jiang Shaoqing to see him messing around with the two beauties, and immediately pulled Yang Hong and Huahua onto the sofa and tried to cover their bare thighs with their long skirt, then finally strode towards the door. Creak, as the door opened, the dog Daheng and Jiang Shaoqing appeared in front of him, but Zhao Yu never would have imagined that beside Jiang Shaoqing also stood another person, a beautiful female police officer. The female officer stood tall at 5'6" and had a mushroom hairstyle that covered her ears. It was Miaoying. Holy, Zhao Yu nearly blinded himself by blinking too hard and fast. He never thought that Miaoying would be at his door? What kind of situation is this? Woof woof, Daheng knew he was home and barked twice before lowering his head and passing through Zhao Yu's legs. Ah, Officer Zhao. Daheng's home now, here. Jiang Shaoqing pointed at Miaoying and spoke, this police lady said she was looking for you. You guys can chat, Yet, when Jiang Shaoqing spoke, she took a glance into the room and immediately saw Yang Hong and Huahua sitting on the sofa. Yang Hong was sitting on the sofa's armrest, dangling a cigarette from her mouth. Huahua was sitting on the sofa, and gesturing at the dog Daheng who she was already familiar with. Jiang Shaoqing first gaped, then bit the inside of her mouth as she glared at Zhao Yu, shaking her head as if she knew better. You're quite busy, huh, Godfather? Hearing Jiang Shaoqing call him Godfather, Zhao Yu did not know whether to laugh or cry. He immediately made a face at her and waved her away. Now only Miao Ying remained. Miao Ying had a powerful presence. Within a moment, a chill came through the door and the entire atmosphere changed. That, Miao Ren, team leader Miao. Zhao Yu rubbed his eyes. I'm not seeing things, right? Weren't you just out of town catching a murderer? Yes, yesterday you were still. We came back overnight in a hurry. It was apparent Miao Ying did not want to make small talk with Zhao Yu. Standing at the door, she got right to the point. Mr. Zhao Yu, I've already submitted an application to your higher-ups to invite you to Riyang branch and participate in the judgment for Jian Wenli's murder. I'm here to pick you up. Oh, it's like that. Zhao Yu turned and looked into his living room, thinking to himself, Miao Ying really picked a good time. I was about to show these girls what I was made of. To cock-block me like this will give me some kind of issues. Seeing Zhao Yu's hesitation, Miao Ying could not help but poke her head in, and suddenly saw the two beauties sitting on the sofa. Hua Hua was currently looking down and playing with the dog, while Yang Hong politely nodded at Miao Ying, then went back to blowing smoke rings to herself. Miao Ying faked a cough and looked at Zhao Yu with an indescribably complicated expression. Seems like Officer Zhao is a little busy. I'll leave you to it. No? Zhao Yu furrowed his brow and changed the topic. Why was this so sudden? Why didn't you tell me earlier? Before we got on the plane, we already informed your higher-ups. Miao Ying spoke seriously. Bureau Chief One of the main investigation team and Captain Liu of the mobile team, we've informed them all. Zhao Yu was first confused, but as if right on cue, his phone suddenly rang. He looked down and saw it was from Peng Xian. Peng Xian's call matched Miao Ying's story. Not only that, but Peng Xian also warned Zhao Yu, saying that the higher-ups saw this as a case of extreme importance. Rongyang's only representative, Zhao Yu, had to cooperate well and be a good representative. Not only would there be regular rewards and praise, but later on he would also get a part of the prize money. If the case was handled well, then the prize money might even be comparable to the prize for Yu Shigen's case. Comparable? Zhao Yu did some mental calculations. Yu Shigen's case's prize money was something like 60,000 yuan. If it was possible, could he also make 60,000 yuan from Jian Wenli's case? Holy sh*t, Zhao Yu could not help but look at the two beauties on the sofa. He thought to himself, it seems like, tonight I can still come back and have some fun, right? The money wouldn't wait for him, right? Thinking this much, Zhao Yu immediately put away the walnuts and snapped at Miao Ying, okay, team leader Miao. Please wait a moment. I'll put on some new clothes, then go downstairs with you. Captain Miao? Zhao Yu was in Miao Ying's police car. He felt awkward and asked, why do you keep looking at the side mirror? Miao Ying was wearing a pair of huge shades, looking very suave. She took a glance at Zhao Yu before shaking her head. Big detective, can't you guess? I really have no idea what you guys at Rongyang branch are thinking. Why isn't there anyone following you? Following me? Zhao Yu frowned deeply. For what? I asked one of my officers to contact your leader before I boarded the plane. Miao Ying did not answer his question, but you received the call only when I went to pick you up at your house. This kind of efficiency, TSK. Nonsense. Zhao Yu said to himself. First, it was Luan Xiao, then it was Liu Changhu. The reason why I had received the notice so late was not because of problems with efficiency, but character. Especially Liu Changhu. When he found out that Zhao Yu had solved another cold case with Riyang branch, of course he was unhappy. He had probably wanted to cause trouble but could not find a good enough reason, so he had to let Peng Xian call Zhao Yu eventually. However, Zhao Yu was still frowning because he could sense that Miao Ying's words seemed to have some hidden message. "Hey, Miao Renfeng," Zhao Yu asked her directly, "what are you trying to say?" "Comrade Zhao Yu," Miao Yu said with a blank expression, "if I were your superior, I would definitely send someone to follow you. How could it be a coincidence that you found the ransom money in the Mianling kidnapping case?" "Huh?" Zhao Yu pondered for a while before he understood what Miao Ying really meant. He quickly replied indifferently, "Why? You think that I was the kidnapper? Am I that old? The young lady even called you her godfather." Miao Ying might have laughed, but one could not tell due to her huge sunglasses. "That girl was making fun of me on purpose." "TSK, TSK," Zhao Yu exclaimed. "Captain Miao, you're really well informed. Why, are you envious, or are you trying to get inside information from me?" "Mianling kidnapping case. Qinshan's #1 cold case," Miao Ying said dismissively. "All Qinshan police officers were going wild last night. How could I have not heard about it? I'm just very curious. Why have all of these bizarre and coincidental things happened to you? Isn't the answer simple?" Zhao Yu took the chance to show off. "Didn't I tell you before, I am acquainted with many gods that are like my brothers. Once I shout for help, they all come and help me. Is your shamelessness automatic?" Miao Ying rebuked and then continued, "But I was really fooled by your annoying looks. Young man, you're really something. I can't figure out how you think. How was Jian Wenli's case connected to duplicating keys?" "That's simple." Zhao Yu knew that he had to report the process of solving Jian Wenli's case sooner or later, so there was no need for him to hide it. He told Miao Ying about how he had felt that the murderer was not an experienced thief and how he had gotten inspiration from the key and the lock. He also said that although it appeared to be a coincidence that Mi Aijuan and Lin Meifeng chose the same day to kill someone, he realized there had to be something more to it after thinking carefully. Visit N0VL/BEIN. For the best novel reading experience. However, there are causes and effects in this world. If Lin Meifeng went into Jian Wenli's house before Mi Aijuan, everything would have been different. Hearing Zhao Yu sound so logical, Miao Ying could not help but keep nodding. It seemed that Zhao Ying must have a certain level of capability to be able to solve these big cases in such a short time. It was definitely not something that could be easily explained. Then, Miao Ying took the chance to ask, "Can you tell me how you blocked everybody's cell service in the station that one time?" "Damn!" Zhao Yu pouted. He had not expected this woman to be still cling on to their betting incident. "I did not lie to you about that." Zhao Yu naturally would not tell the truth. He replied seriously, "I really have supernatural powers. I exercised my powers that time and used up my half a year's worth of power." Miao Ying was speechless, despite how eloquent she normally was. If only she was not driving, she really wanted to beat the shameless Zhao Yu up. Both of them stopped talking, and the car was silent. Zhao Yu should have been very sleepy by that point since he had not slept the night before, and because he had also dealt with Master Hong and his posse during the day. However, Zhao Yu's eyes were wide open and he did not feel drowsy at all. He kept glancing at Miao Ying out of the corner of his eye and felt that Miao Ying was very good-looking. Miao Ying had a very refreshing disposition. She was young and had a heroic spirit. Miao Ying was beautiful and suave at the same time. Her black and shiny mushroom-like hairstyle was clean and simple, and the contours of her face were sharp and clear. Zhao Yu had the impulse to kiss her after looking at her for a while. Although Yao Jiao was also a great beauty, she was beautiful and graceful like a princessy rich girl, which always made Zhao Yu feel a little distant. Looking at the suave Miao Ying, Zhao Yu was a little dazed. He felt that Miao Ying's temperament was more like the Yao Jia he had been madly in love with in his previous life. As he watched her, Zhao Yu's hormones started acting up, and he began to fantasize. His mind was filled with Miao Ying's figure, Miao Ying's looks, Miao Ying's temper. Hey! Miao Ying noticed Zhao Yu's frivolous eyes and quickly shouted, "What are you thinking about?" Zhao Yu was startled and gulped before stuttering, I'm thinking about what will happen to Lin Meifeng. Oh, Zhao Yu's words successfully shifted Miao Ying's attention elsewhere. After thinking, she said, although the real murder has been found, it is still a fact that Lin Meifeng had intended to kill someone. The seriousness depends on how this matter is being handled. She could get a heavy sentence if it's serious, or she could be given a warning if she's lucky. Oh, Zhao Yu pretended to be listening carefully, but his eyes were still gazing uncontrollably at Miao Ying. He was struggling inside, pondering if he should use one of his invisible devices on her. We've already contacted Lin Meifeng's husband, and he said that he would hire the best lawyer to defend Lin Meifeng. Miao Ying continued, I think there should be a good ending. That's good, Zhao Yu nodded absent-mindedly. After the car reached Riyang Branch, Zhao Yu cooperated with Miao Ying and her team and did some interrogation and follow-ups on Jian Wenli's case. After the report was completed and the standard procedures had been followed, it was already 8 at night. Seeing that the case was closed, Zhao Yu had wanted to head home to continue his discussion with Yang Hong and Hua Hua. However, Miao Ying suddenly led her team of key case investigation agents and surrounded Zhao Yu. Looking at the expressions and postures of the agents, they did not appear to have good intentions. Comrade Zhao Yu. Miao Ying smiled and held out her hand. Thank you for your cooperation, it's been tough for you. We're going to Heiguantun to celebrate tonight. Why don't you come along? Huh? Seeing Miao Ying smiling, Zhao Yu felt that something was not right. He was aware that although it had been a joint investigation, Miao Ying and her team had held some animosity toward him. Why would they invite him to have dinner with them? Weren't they afraid that he would make them lose their appetite? Captain Miao, Zhao Yu slowly stretched out his hand and shook with Miao Ying's. I remember you saying that you would never treat me to a meal. Why have you suddenly changed your mind? Kiki, Miao Ying smiled. I never go back on my word, but this time it's our key case investigation unit gathering. It's official, so it's not me treating you. So, are you coming? Oh, Zhao Yu looked at the agents and saw that they were all looking at him and waiting for his reply. Zhao Yu could tell that the agents were all up to no good. He thought, don't tell me all of you think that I don't have the guts to go? Huh. If so, then you're all wrong. I'm not a scaredy cat. Even if you set up a banquet as a trap for me, I would still dare to attend alone. All right, since you are not afraid that I will ruin your appetites, why should I be worried? Besides, I can spend more time with the suave Miao Ying. It's good to see my eye candy. With this thought, Zhao Yu held his fists together and said, Sure, I'll accept the invitation. I'm also hungry. After Zhao Yu said this, many agents groaned and looked depressed. Only one female agent wearing glasses smiled and shouted, Ah! I've won! I've won! As it turned out, it had been a bet made by the investigators in the Riyang Key Case Investigation Unit. They were betting on whether or not Zhao Yu would dare to accept Miao Ying's invitation and go eat with them. In the end, other than the female investigator with glasses who bet that Zhao Yu would agree, everyone else all thought that since Zhao Yu feared Miao Ying, he would never accept the invitation. But the truth stunned them. Zhao Yu had not acted as they had expected, and had agreed readily instead. Miao Ying also lost the bet, but she had already spoken, so she could only bring Zhao Yu along to Heiguantun Fish Stew Restaurant. This bet seemed to have been made in the spur of the moment, but it had specifically been planned by Miao Ying. Since Zhao Yu had officially cooperated with them and had been essential in closing the Jian Wenli case, whether informally or formally, they had to show some sort of appreciation. Otherwise, if other people heard about their treatment, Ryung Branch would seem very rude. On the other hand, Zhao Yu really was very annoying. He came to the Ryung Key Case Investigation Unit once and had made a huge commotion, which made them lose face. To invite him out for food was a little bit frustrating to say the least. Besides, Miao Ying had already said that she would never invite him out for food in a million years. This was why Miao Ying had made the bet. She had wanted to back Zhao Yu into a corner and make him reject her invitation. This way, she would have done her duty as a hostess for Ryung Branch, and if Zhao Yu declined, then everybody else would think that he was rude. But Miao Ying had underestimated Zhao Yu's shamelessness. She had not expected him to agree so easily. Too bad. She had brought this disaster upon herself, so she could only accept it. It was like the old saying, it's easy to invite trouble, but hard to send it away. The investigators all feared Zhao Yu's strange temper, so Miao Ying had to let Zhao Yu ride in her own car. Because it already after work, Miao Ying took off her police uniform and changed into a casual blue cardigan and a nice pair of jeans. She wore white sneakers. Although her clothing seemed simple, Zhao Yu, who knew a bit about fashion, could tell that all of her clothing were international brands that were incredibly expensive. Ah! He could never have imagined this. Who would have known that Miao Renfeng was so fashionable? How had he not seen it before? The sky was pitch black, but Zhao Yu suddenly felt as if there was a bright light shining in front of him. He could not help but stare. The devil-like Miao Renfeng was simply too pretty. But this was just the beginning. When Zhao Yu followed Miao Ying to her car, he was even more stunned. Miao Ying's car was a light blue Volkswagen Phaeton. Zhao Yu had previously engaged in some illegal trading, so he was quite knowledgeable about cars. Before he even entered the car, he could tell that this car was the newest Phaeton on the market. It was at least 2 million yuan. My God! Zhao Yu was a little dumbfounded. He never would have imagined that Miao Ying would drive this sort of car. He was a bit of suspicious. What was Miao Renfeng's background? How could such a young police team leader drive such a valuable car? This woman was not normal. The car started and headed straight for the restaurant. In the car, Zhao Yu had originally wanted to find a topic to find out about Miao Ying's life. Why was she so rich? How old was she? Did she have a boyfriend and such? But it seemed that Miao Ying was only interested in one topic, the massive Mianling kidnapping case that had reappeared due to the new evidence. Miao Ying said that the prestige of this case was hundreds of times greater than their murder exchange case. If the investigation was restarted, it would surely cause a huge wave of commotion. Officer Zhao, have you thought about the corpses inside the tunnel? Who were they? Miao Ying asked. Zhao Yu shook his head and spoke honestly, Sis, this case wasn't mine. 26 years ago, I wasn't even in my mom's womb yet. Miao Ying seemed to have noticed that Zhao Yu was just running his mouth and simply continued without a care. The bones are currently being examined by your branch office. It's already been more than 10 hours. Even if the work isn't done, shouldn't there be some information by now? How come there isn't anything from your side? Miao Ying's words suddenly got straight to the point. Zhao Yu thought carefully. It was true. Even if the 5 corpses had not been finished being investigated, they should have finished doing 1 or 2. How come there was not any information yet? Since they had come back from the tunnel, only team leader Chu Ping had sent people to investigate the tunnel in question, to see who was responsible for the tunnel where the corpses had been, and what time the tunnel had collapsed, etc. Other than that, the police had made no progress. It almost felt like the information was on lockdown. Tens of TV stations, hundreds of reporters all flocking to Ryung Branch, the scene was unbelievable. Miao Ying spoke mysteriously. Even late at night, the news couldn't be avoided. Yet, there wasn't anything from the police. They're still keeping it a secret. Why? What are you trying to say? Zhao Yu asked. Watch. Miao Ying's gaze suddenly seemed distant. Your forensics department definitely found something amazing. Right now, even the higher-ups don't know what to do. What? Something amazing? What? Zhao Yu felt goosebumps from Miao Ying's words. He thought that bones were just bones. What amazing things could they find? Up-to-date OVLS on OVL-bin.cm. No matter what, this huge case is a double-edged sword. Miao Ying sighed meaningfully. If we deal with this well, then Rongyang branch got lucky. If not, then it's like you guys picked up a huge bomb. There was no need to be reminded from Miao Ying. Zhao Yu knew the importance of this mission, but since he was so unsure of the situation, without instruction from the higher-ups, there was no need for him to be so needlessly agitated. Thus, it was better to just enjoy the restaurant than for him to spend his time thinking about the case. Unexpected, the restaurant was in the farm courtyard of a house in Heiguantun. But as expected of good food, by the time Zhao Yu followed Miao Ying to the destination, the outside of the courtyard was already packed with cars, with people everywhere. Outside of the courtyard was even a barbecue stand. If people did not enjoy the fish stew, they could come out and have some barbecue. The area was filled with smoke and noise, almost like a busy street. Zhao Yu knew that since Ryangqi Case Investigation Unit had come all the way out here for food, the fish stew must be one of a kind. Miao Ying led the group of investigators into the private room. Once the different varieties of fish stew were served, the smell was heavenly and truly mouth-watering. The investigators were all quite hungry. They cheered as a formality, but immediately dug into the food. The fish was quite delicious. Zhao Yu ate happily. Because many were people driving, there were not many people drinking at the table. Most people just drank soda. Due to the lack of people drinking, added with Zhao Yu, the atmosphere felt even more serious. It may have been to lift the mood, but once everyone had finished eating, Miao Ying suddenly raised her soda to Zhao Yu, saying that she appreciated his contribution to the Jian Wenli case. She also praised him for his intelligence, flexibility, and said that he had the makings of a good detective with endless potential. Zhao Yu was a little surprised that Miao Renfeng was being so polite with him. To show his own sincerity, Zhao Yu also started praising Miao Ying, saying that she was so accomplished in her youth, so dedicated to her work, and was also one of the brightest stars in Qingshan. Miao Ying had not expected Zhao Yu to be so good at speaking and immediately returned his compliment. She said that not only did Zhao Yu possess the qualities that had just been mentioned, but he was also incredibly brave and skilled at capturing criminals, and truly excelled in both intelligence and prowess. Zhao Yu was equally as competitive as Miao Ying. He immediately praised Miao Ying's powerful martial arts skills. He claimed that she was truly the ace of the police team and the ace of all aces. To show off his ability to banter, Zhao Yu immediately praised Miao Ying's beauty and her incredible form. Miao Ying would not back down and immediately praised Zhao Yu's fitness, beautiful form, and incredible fashion sense. The two's fiery competition had everyone else stunned. No one could interrupt, or even speak at all. They were already completely stunned, thinking to themselves, aren't Miao Ying and Zhao Yu enemies? Why are they praising each other? Officer Zhao is loved by all, adored by nature. Miao Ying got to the height of her excitement. She even slapped the table and told the investigators, "Did you guys know? Today, when I went to pick up Officer Zhao, I saw his two girlfriends. They were both top-tier beauties. Also, he truly is blessed with luck. He even has a little girl calling him his godfather." Ha ha ha. The investigators were again speechless. Zhao Yu was a bit surprised and pondered to himself, was she praising me? Or giving me a backhanded compliment? That's too much. Zhao Yu did not want to lose and immediately started praising Miaoying again. Team leader Miao is not only beautiful, but also fashionable, and even rich. She has an entire set of brand-name clothing, and her car is a Volkswagen Phaeton. It's truly enviable. Zhao Yu had purposely made his compliment a little edgy, meaning to also make Miaoying wonder, was he praising me or praising me? Now the investigators were even more confused. A few sharper individuals had already noticed some issues. Miaoying first paused, but reacted lightning fast. She immediately stood up and spoke, even I can't match up with Officer Zhao. Officer Zhao caught so many criminals in a row. The prize money must be stunning. Oh, also, I heard that Officer Zhao is incredibly honest and has a huge sense of justice. He even attacked his own superior. Zhao Yu, didn't you throw a cup at your captain? Truly the symbol of boldness and bravery. Miaoying spoke with a bright smile on her face and looked as if she were praising Zhao Yu, but she was really hinting at Zhao Yu's shortcomings. The investigators were somewhat confused, but still could not help but start laughing. Zhao Yu would not stand to be insulted like that. He immediately had an idea. He stood up as he spoke, no, Team leader Miaoying is giving me too high a compliment. Speaking of boldness and bravery, I'm not even in the same league as team leader Miao. I don't think anyone here knew about this, but me and team leader Miao had a misunderstanding before and ended up fighting at the police academy. I was beat to a pulp by team leader Miao. Really? I spent all my energy and still couldn't hurt her. I only ended up ripping team leader Miao's pants off and bit her in the butt. Oh, after Zhao Yu completed his sentence, all of the agents present could not help but exclaim, and their faces even turned white. Oh, I'm sorry, please don't be mistaken. Zhao Yu realized that he had been careless with his words and quickly apologized. I waited for Captain Miao to pull up her pants back before biting her. I bit her over her clothes. Please don't be mistaken. Oh, everybody exclaimed again, and the agents' faces turned from white to green. After their reaction, there was dead silence. Miaoying's lips had already turned green with anger, and her whole body was shaking. Thinking back on the big fight at the police academy, the two things that Miaoying hated for others to mention the most were her pants falling down and her being bitten. But not only had Zhao Yu said it all out loud, but he had done so in front of her whole team. How could she still remain calm? At that moment, she wished that she could turn the table upside down and bash Zhao Yu. But this was a celebration dinner, and Zhao Yu was the representative of the partner branch, so it would be inappropriate to beat him up. After thinking carefully, Miaoying suppressed her burning rage and slowly sat down. However, Zhao Yu looked as if he did not care and continued tasting the delicious fish. He had said all of those words on purpose. This is called reciprocity. Don't think only you can praise me, I can also praise you. Seeing Zhao Yu's brazen and annoying look, Miaoying gave him a fierce glare before saying angrily to the agents, "All right, we're done eating. Let's go sing at Luyin karaoke. You guys go and get a big room first, I'll settle the bill here." The agents felt that something was not quite right. Zhang quickly lowered his head and asked, "Captain, get going quick." Miaoying waved her hand. "Officer Zhao and I will be there shortly." Knowing Miaoying's temper, no one else dared to say anything, and they all went to get their cars. After everyone left, there was only Miaoying and Zhao Yu left in the room. Zhao Yu was no fool, and he had noticed that Miaoying was extremely angry and exasperated. But something was wrong with him, and he still said brazenly, "All right, Captain Miao, I've had my fill. I've never been to Luyin karaoke though. Is it far?" Bish, a terrifying sound came from Miao Ying's fist as she walked with heavy steps toward Zhao Yu and said with emphasis, Zhao Yu. Scram as far as you can. Don't let me see you again. Scram. Eh. Although Zhao Yu was already mentally prepared, his anger was also ignited after seeing Miao Ying's angry and heartless expression. He replied righteously, Captain Miao, you are wrong to say this. You're the one who started the topic, but you got angry because you didn't want to continue. What kind of logic is that? But before Zhao Yu could finish, Miao Ying did not wish to waste her breath and had already left. After Zhao Yu left the room, he saw that Miao Ying had already gone to the cashier to get the bill. As there were many people waiting in line, it seemed like Miao Ying had to wait for a while before it was her turn. Huh, you tell me to scram, but you were the one who scrammed first? Zhao Yu mumbled to himself. If he went forward and continued to argue with her, it would really be inappropriate. With this, Zhao Yu took his coat and left the restaurant. TSK, he looked left and right and realized that the place very far from the city and there were no cabs around. It would be difficult to go back without a ride. Damn, Zhao Yu got angrier the more he thought about it. What's the meaning of this? Oh, you're chasing me away just by saying you don't want to see me? Actually, besides feeling angry, Zhao Yu also felt a little disappointed. He did not want to really call it quits with Miao Ying. There was something about Miao Ying that had already deeply attracted him, but he had not realized it until now. Since there were no cabs around, he had to use a ride-sharing app. If not, Zhao Yu saw Miao Ying's Volkswagen Phaeton and thought to himself, why don't I hide behind the car and sneak in when Miao Ying opens the door? Just when Zhao Yu's thoughts were running wild, he suddenly saw a small table beside the car. There were two people eating and drinking. Although they were men, they both had long hair. One was fat and the other was thin. Both of them had tattoos on their arms, and they looked like young punks in the area. At that moment, the two were already high and trifling in a drunken state. After seeing them, Zhao Yu suddenly came up with a bad idea. He looked at Miao Ying's car and then the two men, and his mouth curled into a sinister sneer. He took out 100 RMB from his wallet and walked over to the two men. Hey, you two are enjoying your drinks. Kiki, Zhao Yu pretended to be drunk and slammed the money on the table. There, do you see that? He pointed at Miao Ying's Phaeton. Whoever goes over there and pisses on that car will get this money. What? The fat long-haired man glanced at Zhao Yu before roaring, are you crazy? Huh. Bang. Zhao Yu took out his wallet and put down another 100. This time around, the two men looked at each other and their expression changed. Hey! You, the thin man had just opened his mouth when Zhao Yu slapped down another bill. The two men had already seen the money and felt tempted. Being an expert in this, Zhao Yu suddenly took the money back after seeing that the two had fallen for his trick. Then forget it. Pretend I didn't say anything. I'm off. With this, he turned to leave, but the thin man immediately held him back while the fat man took big steps toward the Phaeton. Huh. Zhao Yu gave a satisfied nod and put the money back on the table. At that moment, the fat man who had reached the Phaeton looked around before starting to take his pants off to pee. Zhao Yu had wanted to wait for the man to finish peeing, but he saw that Miao Ying had already paid and was walking over. Zhao Yu's heart skipped a beat and he quickly left the 300 RMB before leaving. He fastened his steps and started to leave the lot, but less than 10 meters out, he suddenly heard Miao Ying shout from behind him, Hey! What are you, Bastard! 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 Miao Ying was really angry, slapping and shouting at the same time, and her voice even changed. Bastard! You better lick my car clean today before you can even think of getting away. Phew. Zhao Yu heaved a sigh of relief and said to himself, luckily Miaoying did not see me. If she knew that I was the one behind it, I'd be doomed. Zhao Yu had wanted to turn back to look, but was afraid of being seen by Miaoying. He quickly lowered his head and continued to walk out. After just a few steps, the thin man's roar came from behind again. Eh? Why are you, a woman, hitting us? We can talk things over, but why do you have to hit us? Eh? What do you want? Eh? Bam. Boom, the thin man also let out a series of cries. He must have been beaten up badly by Miaoying. Somebody help! Someone's hitting us! Help, ah! After being beaten, one of the men shouted at the top of his lungs, and a few people who were eating grilled skewers across the street quickly rushed over. A few seconds later, there were more sounds of fighting where Miaoying was. Zhao Yu frowned and could not help but turn back to look. Under the dim light, there was a mass of bobbing heads, and Miaoying had already been surrounded by many people. TSK. Zhao Yu's intention had been to play a trick on Miaoying, but he had not expected to cause such a scene. If this went on, it would be difficult to handle. Just as Zhao Yu was pondering what to do, the shutter doors beside him suddenly opened, and 5 or 6 gangster-looking men ran out. These men had been playing mahjong inside just now, and there was still a stack of money on the mahjong table. Among them, a scar-faced man asked, "Why? What happened?" Another said, "I heard Tolly shouting for help just now. Was he being hit by someone? Quick, go and take a look." Zhao Yu peered inside the house and saw that other than the mahjong table, there were also many big boxes. The big boxes all had Korean words on them, and some even had pictures of mobile phones. It could also be clearly seen that inside the open boxes were many mobile phone cables and electronic products related to earphones, etc. Because of his knowledge from his past life, Zhao Yu could immediately tell that there was definitely something wrong with the house. They were either smuggling or dealing with pirated goods. Why else would there be so many strong, young men guarding it? Seeing Zhao Yu peering inside, the scar-faced man shouted fiercely at him, "Hey! What are you looking at?" Right after this, he quickly ordered the man behind him to close the door, and the shutter doors went down. "Boss, I think they really got into a fight," someone pointed at where Miaoying was and shouted. "Let's go and take a look." Once the scar-faced man commanded, everyone charged over. Oh my, holy sh*t, this is bad. Zhao Yu's heart skipped a beat. It's really gotten out of hand this time. Seeing so many people rushing toward Miaoying, Zhao Yu felt an even urgent sense of danger. He knew, this time, he had really gone too far. He immediately turned and walked back toward the parking lot, wanting to see how Miaoying was doing. Before he had even gotten close to the parking lot, he already heard someone yelling in the crowd, "Jesus, this woman's a tough nut to crack. Bro, don't let her run. Let's go. Quick, people with weapons." Another one roared, "Kill her. **T. Zhao Yu cursed under his breath and immediately sped up. As he made his way closer, the sounds of battle grew fiercer. More people had already surrounded Miaoying. Under the dim light, Zhao Yu could only see flashes of heads and fists, unable to see how Miaoying was doing. Actually, since Miaoying was a police officer, as long as she yelled her identity, she could probably control the situation a bit. But Zhao Yu could only hear the sound of someone moaning after a beating, completely unable to hear Miaoying's voice. Boom! A delinquent flew out from the crowd and fell right at Zhao Yu's feet. The man laid on his back facing the sky and started spitting blood, but he did not stop cursing. Zhao Yu noticed no one was watching, so he kicked the man's face. He immediately fainted. TSK, Zhao Yu stood on high ground and craned his neck. he finally found Miao Ying. Miao Ying was truly fearless, smacking down anyone she saw. But there was strength in numbers. No matter how skilled Miao Ying was, there was no way she could fight off so many people unscathed. Under attack from so many people, her moves were already weakened, her body was bruised. It seemed like she had already taken many attacks. Holy sh**t. Zhao Yu was shocked and immediately dashed into the crowd. Right at this moment, a delinquent lifted up an iron chair and aimed it at Miao Ying's head. Miao Ying had her back faced to him, so if this chair hit her head, the result would be disastrous. Zhao Yu roared and slammed against the person with his shoulder, sending him flying. Due to the excessive strength, the person flew back and also took a few others with him. Zhao Yu's reflexes were lightning fast. He immediately picked up a chair and threw it at the person on the ground. With a loud sound, a wail of pain rose up from within the crowd. All west.ch.rs on n.o/vli/n/.cm. Feeling the enemies behind her decrease in number, Miao Ying grabbed right at the hair of someone in front of her and pulled them towards her. With a quick knee strike, the person immediately flew upwards and slammed down harshly on the top of a car. Immediately after, Miao Ying followed up with a spinning kick, and another 2 people fell on the ground. Zhao Yu was also rather busy himself. After taking care of that one person, he took large strides toward where the barbecue grill was. He grabbed the boiling hot grill with the coal in it, then threw it right into the crowd. The red-hot coal spilled over people's heads, and a wave of wailing suddenly rang out. But Zhao Yu had grabbed the wrong spot, and with a yelp, his hand was also burned from the grill. Ow ow, Zhao Yu bit his tongue from the burn and immediately threw the grill away. The delinquents finally reacted to the fact that Zhao Yu was an enemy. Suddenly, many people rushed toward him. Zhao Yu simply held up a table and threw it right at them. Boom! Pow! Ow! Slump, within the blink of an eye, the people who had rushed at Zhao Yu were knocked down. Due to his strength, the table was not only bent out of shape, but it simply fell apart. But the people who had been burnt by the coal began to stand up, and rushed towards Miao Ying and Zhao Yu once again. Zhao Yu did not have a weapon anymore, so he simply roared and rushed forward with his fists. Boom! Pow! He knocked out 2 people with his punches. But there were simply too many enemies. Zhao Yu and Miao Ying were quickly surrounded. With the chaos of the situation, Zhao Yu's elbow and back were both hit. Miao Ying punched someone's nose, but was immediately pushed forward by another person. Coincidentally, she landed right in front of Zhao Yu. Maybe Miao Ying was still riding on her adrenaline, but when she landed on Zhao Yu, she threw a punch without even looking and hit Zhao Yu right in the face. Ow! Zhao Yu clutched his face and crouched down in pain. Immediately, multiple delinquents ran over to him. Ah! Miao Ying realized she had hit the wrong person. Seeing the delinquents surrounding Zhao Yu, she wanted to help but was immediately blocked by another 2 people. But Zhao Yu did not need any help. He suddenly appeared through the punches and kicks, blowing a person away with the back of his head, then he snatched someone by the collar and held them sideways. It was almost like a cosmic explosion. F***ck all of you F***kers, Zhao Yu roared and started using the person as a weapon, immediately taking down many people. But the Scarface man was very sneaky. He found his chance and immediately rushed forward, locking Zhao Yu's neck with his elbow from behind. Zhao Yu pulled his body, trying to work his way out of the lock, but the Scarface man had much experience and used his knee to pin down Zhao Yu's leg, preventing him from working himself free. At this time, many delinquents who finally recovered rushed toward Zhao Yu and started throwing punches and kicks. Unable to break free, Zhao Yu could only carry the Scarface man as he turned in place, trying to keep people away with brute strength. As he turned, Zhao Yu was suddenly in front of Miao Ying. Miao Ying was just breaking someone's elbow when she raised her head and saw that Zhao Yu was restrained. She immediately yelled, "Let me take care of it." Zhao Yu was confused. "The guy is behind me, how are you going to take care of it?" he thought. Yet, just as Miao Ying finished speaking, she raised her leg high and kicked heavily at Zhao Yu's chest. The kick was thunderous and had a great impact. Zhao Yu immediately fell backwards, and the Scarface man holding him followed. The two rolled back and slammed into many other people. A huge wave of people fell like dominoes. Holy sh**t. Zhao Yu was immediately angered. One reason was because he was angry was because Miao Ying should not have hit him, another was because these annoying delinquents had ruined his plan. Within moments, he was like an angered bull, starting his own explosive counterattack. The Scarface man was closest to him and became the most unfortunate victim of Zhao Yu's attack. Zhao Yu turned and held him down by the neck, then immediately slammed his fist into the guy's face. With that punch, blood immediately spurted out. Zhao Yu had no sign of stopping. Punch by punch, each stronger than the last, slammed forward. Even though other people hit Zhao Yu, he ignored them all and kept on pummeling the Scarface. Suddenly, he turned and grabbed another delinquent by the neck and rushed forward with the other in his clutch. With a resounding boom, he slammed the delinquent's head into a car window. Crack, the car window broke into pieces. The person had been straight up slammed into the car by Zhao Yu. Zhao Yu turned, his murderous intent becoming more obvious as he glared at the crowd, making everybody shiver. But just as they paused, Miao Ying had already snuck her way over devilishly, and with a high kick, many people immediately started flying away. Zhao Yu yelled fiercely and slammed a delinquent with his shoulder, then raised him up high before slamming him into the ground. The person immediately started foaming from the mouth, fainting almost immediately. After taking that person down, there were not many people left standing. One of the delinquents tried to run, but Miao Ying immediately rushed forward with a spinning kick right into their face. Bam! With a crisp sound, the person immediately blacked out and collapsed on the ground like a melted popsicle. Once Zhao Yu rose up, he immediately caught another delinquent and started slapping them repeatedly. At the same time, Miao Ying grabbed the final delinquent and pressed them in front of herself. She slammed her knee repeatedly into their chest. Slap, slap, slap. Boom, boom, boom. After the fierce assault, the two had simultaneously released their anger and roared as they landed the final attack. The two delinquents wailed as they fell to the floor at once. But Zhao Yu was still angry. Remembering that Miao Ying had punched him and then kicked him, he could not help but feel it was unfair. He raised his hand and grabbed Miao Ying's elbow, pulling her in front of himself. Immediately, Zhao Yu did something so insane that even he could not understand it. He pressed Miao Ying's back harshly, then kissed her right on the lips. Zhao Yu's kiss came very suddenly. It was both unexpected and shocking. Miao Ying had initially felt a little guilty about hitting Zhao Yu by accident, therefore, she did not resist when Zhao Yu had suddenly grabbed her arm. However, never in her wildest dreams would she expect that Zhao Yu would choose this method of revenge at a time like this. At that instant, she was caught by surprise and was forcefully kissed by Zhao Yu. Their lips pressed together and their eyes met. 1 second, 2 seconds, it was only until the third second that Miao Ying reacted and pushed Zhao Yu before lifting her long leg and kicking him. Ah! Zhao Yu! You bastard! Madman! Accompanying Miao Ying's mad roar, Zhao Yu knocked against the car door. The powerful force not only smashed the glass, but also made a dent on the door. Zhao Yu was stunned for a while before he managed to pick himself up. He pressed on his chest and started coughing. Hork hork hork. Unexpectedly, the fat man slowly got up from the ground and saw Zhao Yu face to face. "Ah! It's you," the fat man had wanted to point out the real culprit as he pointed his trembling finger at Zhao Yu. "It's your holy sh*t." Zhao Yu immediately lifted his leg and gave him another kick. Miao Ying breathed heavily, wiping her lips as she stared at Zhao Yu with murderous eyes. Zhao Yu might have felt that he was in the wrong. He quickly looked elsewhere and was also panting heavily. However, he was reminiscing inside, and his mind was filled with the surprise kiss. At that moment, the agents from Ryong branch had rushed over and were all dumbstruck by the scene in front of them. They had expected Miao Ying to have a big fight with Zhao Yu after the dinner ended, and that Zhao Yu would definitely end up in a sorry state. But the scene in front of them had them puzzled. Not only was Zhao Yu not in a sorry state, but there was also many people who had been beaten up all over the place. These 10-odd people were all on lying the ground and groaning in pain. Some of them were even unconscious, and there were also some who had their face covered in blood and their arms broken. "Captain, what happened?" the agents quickly asked. Miao Ying stared at Zhao Yu again before saying to her subordinates, "Inform the local police station, arrest all of them. They assaulted police officers, and also defecate indiscriminately." "Huh? What?" The agents were puzzled. "Defecate? No." Hork, Zhao Yu quickly pointed to somewhere far and added, "The house over there is a criminal den. These people are all smugglers. It could be because Captain Miao accidentally discovered their activities that they attacked us." Oh. The agents felt that this sounded slightly more logical. Zhao Yu's words made Miao Ying look untrustworthy. If it had really been like what Zhao Yu said, it would be more reasonable for everyone to have gotten beaten up. If not, Miao Ying and Zhao Yu's actions would have seemed a little uncalled for. Seeing the agents contacting the local police, Zhao Yu added, "Oh, yes. These people were ruthless and almost killed us. They can't be simply charged with assaulting police officers. Right, Captain Miao?" Miao Ying gritted her teeth and gave him another glare. The agents realized the seriousness of the matter. Not only did they contact the local police, but also reported the incident to the police department. In less than 5 minutes, a group of policemen reached the scene. After opening the door to the small house, they saw that there were indeed pirated goods and illegal products inside. These gangsters were immediately captured and brought to the local police station. According to the local police, these people were not only involved in smuggling, but a few of them were even the suspects in several fraud cases, so they could all be thoroughly interrogated this time. This area was under the jurisdiction of Ryong branch, so these people would definitely not have a good ending. Zhao Yu did not follow them to the local police station, but sneaked off silently after the whole thing ended. He should have gone with them to record his statement since he was one of the important parties involved. However, he felt that Miao Ying would be able to handle all of these trivial matters herself and there was no use for him to be around. Also, he was worried that if the two men mentioned the fact that he was the one who had instigated them to pee on the phaeton, he would be doomed. Thus, it was better to get out fast. Luckily, no one from Ryong branch called him after he had sneaked away. It seemed that those people also did not anything to do with him. It was already past midnight when Zhao Yu returned home. After going into the house, he felt both exhausted and wounded. The wound was not anywhere on his physical body, but came from within. He went straight to the bathroom for a shower without even turning on the lights. The water ran from the tap and steam filled the bathroom. Zhao Yu looked at himself in the mirror and felt a sense of loss. In the mirror, he looked fair and delicate. The 2 green dragons that had been on his arms were gone, and so were the scars and his shaven head. He no longer had a murderous look like he had in the past. Zhao Yu could not help but look doubtful as he inspected himself in the mirror. Is this the real me? Which is the real me? Zhao Yu felt mixed emotions. He clenched his fists tightly and wanted to throw something to vent his anger, but there was no place for him to do so. Actually, the person that he was angry with was none other than himself. At that very moment, he was clearly aware that his anger and rage were from the image he could not get out of from his mind, Miaoying. He was also aware that he had really messed up this time. Since he left his past life, this was the first time that Zhao Yu felt guilty and remorseful. He was fully aware that what he had done to Miaoying was wrong. To satisfy his own evil thoughts, he had played a prank which had almost gotten out of hand. If Miaoying had become seriously injured because of this, the consequences would have been beyond imagination. Your F48 stories on /o/v/lbn.cm. The comfortable and refreshing hot water splashed onto Zhao Yu's body, but it seemed to be cleaning his mind. I was wrong, he said to himself. I must not do such foolish things again. I've time traveled, I'm reborn, I'm now a police officer. I'm no longer the gangster who fought all day and did things without considering the consequences. I have a new life, a new career, shouldn't I treasure it all? Do I want to be on the execution chair and be injected with poison again? Ha, Zhao Yu looked at himself in the mirror again and laughed. He was laughing at himself. Why did he take so long to understand something so simple? Thinking back on the things that he had done since time traveling, so what if he had solved a few cases and got awarded? His interpersonal relationships were in a mess and his colleagues both hated and feared him. If not for the miracle system in his brain, he would have probably gone back to his old ways. Zhao Yu. You can't go on like this anymore. I am reborn. Heaven has given me a chance to turn over a new leaf. How can I still do things without knowing where to draw the line like in the past? Since this is a rebirth, I should turn over a new leaf. Treasure my destiny and my life. At that moment, Zhao Yu seemed to have gone through a soul-cleansing session and had an epiphany. He seemed to have found his directions in life, his goals in life, and the meaning of life. Yes. From now on, I'm gonna turn over a new leaf. Be a good person. After showering, Zhao Yu quickly took out his phone to make a call before putting on his clothes. He felt that since he had decided to live life to the fullest, wasn't that something worth celebrating? The call was to Yang Hong. However, after the call had been made, ringing sound came from his bedroom. He opened the door and saw Yang Hong and Hua Hua sleeping soundly on his bed. The dog was lying at the edge of the bed. After seeing Zhao Yu, it quickly jumped forward and circled around Zhao Yu. Oh, Zhao Yu understood that these two people must have been afraid that Hong Jitao would come back and look for trouble after being released, and stayed over at his place. Hehehe, looking at the fair thighs on his bed, Zhao Yu gave a gentle kick and got Daheng out of the room. After that, he rubbed his palms and jumped onto the bed. It was truly the height of excitement, a climax of emotions. Because of Zhao Yu's commotion, Jiang Dafeng prodded the ceiling 3 times from below, his cursing audible through the floor. 7 sit envelb/n. C/m for L test vels. In that one night, Zhao Yu had taken care of all his pent-up frustration. It was only when the 3 were completely worn out that peace returned to the house. But the bed that was only 150 centimeters wide was simply too small. Halfway through the night, Zhao Yu was pushed off of the bed by Yang Hong and Hua Hua, and ended up crawling back into his own smaller bedroom to sleep. Even though he was exhausted, Zhao Yu still tossed and turned in bed, unable to sleep. Everything had happened so fast that day, he couldn't even keep up. He had even fought twice in one day. Zhao Yu originally did not want to recall his complicated day, but for some reason he could not shake away the beautiful form of Miaoying. Miaoying's every movement and smile, his thunderous anger, his angry yelling, he could not forget any of it. especially that last shocking kiss that left him completely breathless and distracted. Even while he was enjoying his time with the two beauties, Miao Ying's form kept popping into his mind. In a moment of distraction, he even mistook the woman under him for Miao Ying. Zhao Yu could not help but sigh. Even when he was near Yao Jia, he had never felt like this. What happened to me? Could it be, did I really fall for that Miao Renfeng? Is this what being possessed by love feels like? But if I was so possessed by her, why do I keep going against her? All these thoughts starting running through his head. Just as Zhao Yu was distracted, the system finally started its ending message. To his great disappointment, his adventure completion rate was only 81%, and he only obtained one invisible tracking device. Why was that? Zhao Yu could not understand. Logically speaking, he had helped Young Hong and Hua Hua fix such a huge issue that day, and he had also brought justice down on the societal menace Hong Jitao, helping to maintain both social stability and peace. Wasn't this a great thing? Why was the completion rate so low? Shouldn't it be at least 90%? Once Zhao Yu thought about it, he decided not to worry about it. Even though he had done something great that day, he had also done something terrible. Firstly, he had hired someone to pee on Miao Ying's car, and then caused a huge fight. This act was truly immoral and deserving of criticism. Even if he had helped Young Hong and Hua Hua, he should not have asked for the two women to satisfy his desires in return. That was not very moral. TSK. It seemed like he would have to restrain himself from now on. Because he intended to be a better person, he could not do such impulsive things anymore. From now on, he needed to collect more good karma instead. Originally Zhao Yu had wanted to open another hexagram, but he suddenly remembered that he still had not analyzed his previous hexagram. The last one he opened, the Canli hexagram, seemed to lean heavily on the water side and weakly on the fire side. The can was obvious. That morning he had awkwardly met up with Bureau Chief Luan, then had the adventure with Yang Hong and Hua Hua, then had a shocking kiss with Miao Ying. In one day, he already had many encounters with women. But then what about the Li hexagram? Thinking back to his encounters today, what did this Li word mean? Since he had not had any family encounters that day, Zhao Yu immediately eliminated Li from being related to family. Because Li and family were unrelated, obviously Sun represented family. Gon, Kun, Jin, Sun, Zhen, Dui, Can, Li, out of the 8 hexagrams, Gon had yet to appear, Kun had appeared once, but its meaning was undecided. Jin meant status, Sun represented family, Zhen represented job, Dui represented wealth, and Kin represented women. As of right now, only the Li hexagram representing fire did not have an explanation, but using the other hexagram explanations to take a guess, Zhao Yu thought that Li most likely represented friendship. Because they all represented the kind of encounters a person could experience, and the first few had already been covered, friendship was the only missing one. Then, Li actually represented friendship? Thinking back to his adventure, where did friendship show up? Could it be the director Liu Xiaohong who was working on fighting illegal substances? Maybe after today's cooperation, him and I will end up as friends? Zhao Yu thought. Today I went to the Riyang branch office and closed the Jian Wenli murder case, and also got quite a bit of prize money. Logically speaking, this should also be in Zhen and Dui, right? Also, even though it was an accident, he also somehow caught an illegal trafficking group. This could also go along with Zhen, right? Then why didn't I get these hexagrams? Also, what did Kun represent? Was it some sort of combination hexagram, or was there a special meaning? Where could he find the explanations for the hexagram explanations that were impossible to understand? Zhao Yu's thoughts crowded his mind more and more and became messier and messier. After a while he could not even stop. It seemed that in terms of his miracle system, he still had to work hard to understand it. To put his mind elsewhere, he quickly started smoking to open another hexagram. It was already late at night, and his violent coughing noises were easily heard everywhere, resulting in another fit of cursing from Jiang Dafeng downstairs. DUI Jin hexagram, the system said. DUI for marsh and Jin for thunder. The marsh clouds over the thunder, and noises cannot be heard. Demons cloud the ears of people, and people can only judge by their heart. DUI Jin hexagram? Money? Increase in status? Zhao Yu was quite happy. His hexagram was great, but the hexagram explanation has said, noises cannot be heard. Was it saying that once the thunder reached the marsh, it could no longer make noise? What did it mean? It had also mentioned demon and heart. What did that mean? Actually, ever since having the miracle system, Zhao Yu never stopped investigating these hexagram explanations. He not only looked them up online, but also bought many books about Bagua. He even asked a fortune teller, but no matter what he did, he still could not understand it. Where did these hexagram explanations come from? How could one understand them? Faced with the difficult hexagram explanations, Zhao Yu had a vague feeling about them. He felt like these hexagram explanations definitely had something to do with the adventures that would happen. If he could understand them, then maybe he could know the details of the adventures before they happened and he could complete them more easily. But how would he understand them? These words were all spoken by the system. Even if he had a written copy, he would be unfamiliar with some of the words. How could he look them up? Speaking of looking things up, Zhao Yu could not help but remember the Miangling kidnapping case that had resurfaced. He did not know if Wang Fei or the others had found something. Why had they still not released any information? Could it be that Miaoying was right and that they had found something unbelievable? Zhao Yu thought about it over and over until he finally fell asleep. His sleep had been rather limited over the past few days. He had even shown some signs of exhaustion. Now that he could finally sleep, he could not sleep well. He had a feeling that something big was going to happen. He also dreamed numerous times of the beautiful Miaoying and Miaoying pushing him into bed. The next morning Zhao Yu was still sleeping deeply when his phone buzzed. He opened an eye and turned to his phone. There was a message from Rongyang branch asking for the entire key case investigation unit to gather at 10 a.m. for a meeting on the Mianling kidnapping case. He was still groggy, but Zhao Yu had noticed a change in the wording. The case was originally called the Massive Mianling Kidnapping Disappearance Case but was now called Massive Mianling Kidnapping Murder Case. There was a meeting at 10 in the morning. Zhao Yu had thought that he could rest for a little bit more, but Peng Xian's phone call came before he could even shut his eyes. Peng Xian told Zhao Yu to rush back to the police station. There was something urgent that he needed to settle. Zhao Yu was a little surprised and asked what had happened, but Peng Xian told him he would know when he arrived. Ah, Zhao Yu stretched. Although he had a Duijin hexagram, which meant that there could be changes in money and status, there was no can which represented work. This implied that he would not obtain any clues to solve the case. However, since he had already decided to turn over a new leaf, it could not just be all talk. A fault confessed is half redressed. He had to prove that he was able to do it. Zhao Yu went to the bathroom to wash up. It was only then that he realized that he was covered in bruises and wounds from the night before. The most severe were those from Miaoying. He had been kicked twice in the chest, and it was already fortunate that his ribs were not broken. The worst was the punch on his face. It had landed right between his brows. His nose bridge was in pain, his eyes were red and swollen, and he was almost disfigured. This Miaoren Feng is really too much. To think that I am so mesmerized by you. However, thinking back on the sudden kiss last night, Zhao Yu touched his lips again and started to reminisce. After changing into his clean police uniform, Zhao Yu was about to step out when he suddenly remembered the two beauties in the other room and he could not help but stop. As I've already said, I'm gonna turn over a new leaf today. I have to keep to my word. How can I not pay after playing with the girls? Thinking of this, he looked into his wallet and took out 2,000 RMB and then placed it on Yang Hong's jacket. Da Heng saw Zhao Yu going out and wanted to follow, but Zhao Yu waved his hand and chased him back. Later, Sis Hua Hua will take care of you. I've got important things to see to. Da Heng, you have to remember, from now onward, your master is a good person. You also have to be a good dog, understand? Zhao Yu looked up and only saw Da Heng's tail, which was getting further from him. He took his bag and went downstairs. The moment he stepped out of the corridor, the bright sun shone on his face, making him feel refreshed and enthralled. Ah, wonderful sunshine, from now onward, everything is a fresh start. Zhao Yu was still in the midst of feeling emotional when Jiang Dafeng's roar came from the fruit stall. Darn policeman, I was about to look for you. Quick, pack up your stuff and move out right now. What were you up to? You actually brought girls home and wailed and howled all night? Outrageous! Holy, Zhao Yu was about to get into a fit of rage when he suddenly remembered his promise and took a deep breath to control his anger. Oh, Boss Jiang, I'm really sorry to have disturbed you last night. Next time, there won't be a next time. Zhao Yu had never said such soft words before and he felt extremely awkward saying them. No more next time, understand? Jiang Dafeng was furious. What kind of police officer are you? You brought a dog back, and now even humans? My building's gonna be torn down by you, you know? Looking at Jiang Dafeng's domineering attitude, Zhao Yu had to keep taking deep breaths as he wished he could tear down his stall immediately. However, his rationality got the upper hand in the end, and he said calmly with much difficulty, Boss Jiang, I shall not waste my breath on you. We have a contract and it was not stated on the contract that I'm not allowed to have dogs or chase girls. If you want to get rid of me, you have to go to court and sue me. Bye. With this, Zhao Yu turned and walked away. Jiang Dafeng threw a pomelo skin thrown at him. Heh. Zhao Yu turned into a corner, feeling very pleased with his performance just now. Win people over by virtue, speak with the law. I, Zhao Yu, am a reasonable civil police. Heh. When Zhao Yu finally reached the police station, the scene at the entrance gave him a shock. The place was filled with different television trucks, reporters with microphones, and cameramen carrying big cameras. My goodness, what's the big fuss about? He stuck out his tongue and felt it was better to go in through the back door. Unexpectedly, there was also a group of reporters at the back door. After seeing Zhao Yu, a few of them came up and asked questions which were mainly about the Mianling case. 7 sit envelb/n. C/M for L test vels. Zhao Yu had never been interviewed by reporters and had wanted to wrangle with them, but before he could open his mouth, Peng Xians called him again, rushing him to head straight for the forensics department. Forensics department? Zhao Yu pondered for a while. It seemed like it was something major. With this thought, Zhao Yu went through the crowd at his fastest speed and went into the main building of the police station. When he reached the main hall of the forensics department, he saw that it was also crowded with people. However, it was different from the bustling scenario at the entrance. Although there were many people here, it was all silence except for a few sobs and cries. There were all sorts of different people sitting on the seats on both sides of the hall. There were 20 to 30 of them and the sobs came from them. Zhao Yu looked left and right but did not see Peng Xian. Zhang Jingfeng appeared out of the blue and greeted him. Zhang, good that you're here. Zhao Yu quickly asked, what's the situation now? I also just got here. Zhang Jingfeng pointed at the main entrance of the forensics department. I only heard that the official autopsy report is out. Maybe there was a problem, so the leaders are still discussing how to solve it. Let's see how the meeting goes later. Huh? Problem? What problem? Zhao Yu was shocked. I have no idea. Zhang Jingfeng shook his head and pointed to the people on the seats. These are the family members of the children who were kidnapped that year. Since they were asked to come over, I think, the skeletons, as the place was too quiet, Zhang Jingfeng did not want to go into detail. However, Zhao Yu understood that the skeletons had to be those of the children who had been kidnapped, and that the family members were here to claim them. Previously, Hu Bin told Zhao Yu this, so Zhao Yu was already mentally prepared and did not feel surprised. However, he did not understand what could have happened during the autopsy. The two were talking when the door to the evidence room at the side opened and Peng Xian let a man and a woman out. The couple both had gray hair at the sides and looked of a certain age, but they dressed very stylish and extravagantly. They looked like people of wealth and status. The woman's eyes were red and wet. She looked like she had just cried. The man was frowning and looked gloomy, and he was carrying the handbag which Zhao Yu had picked up from the mine pit. The handbag was still round and full, which meant that the money was still inside. Oh! Peng Xian introduced to the two people the moment she saw Zhao Yu. Mr. Tao, this is Officer Zhao who discovered the crime scene. He was the one who found your money. The middle-aged man who was being addressed as Mr. Tao quickly put his palms together and bowed before Zhao Yu before stretching out his hands and held Zhao Yu's hands tightly. Officer Zhao, thank you, thank you. Mr. Tao said emotionally. If not for you, my son could have been missing forever. I've been able to find Xiao Xiao's remains while I'm still alive. It's also, at this point, Mr. Tao's eyes were wet and he was unable to continue. As for the woman beside him, she was already covering her face and crying. Don't mention it, please don't mention it. Although Mr. Tao did not say much, Zhao Yu had already been deeply touched and he quickly consoled them. I picked it up by chance when I was chasing a suspect. This is probably heaven's will. It's what I should have done. Thank you so much. Mr. Tao held Zhao Yu's hands tightly and then suddenly pressed the handle of the handbag into his hand. Oh, right. Officer Zhao, if not for you, the kids would never have been found. This money was found by you. Please take it. This is just a little something from me and all of the other family members. Ah. Zhao Yu was stunned, and the agents on the side also looked at one another not knowing what to say. No, Zhao Yu quickly pushed back the handbag. This won't do. The money is yours, how can I take it? However, Mr. Tao clenched his fists tightly and had no intention of taking back the money. The middle-aged woman beside him also started to persuade Zhao Yu as her tears flowed, asking Zhao Yu to take the money, saying that it was their gratitude for him. Unexpectedly, just as Zhao Yu was jostling with them, a white-haired elderly man suddenly stood up and shouted, "Please take it, officer." The elderly man's words caused a moment of silence. The people present looked up and saw that the elderly man was wearing an expensive suit, with a walking stick in his right hand. His hair was all white, but he looked very alert. The old man took big steps and came before Zhao Yu, and said emotionally, "Officer, this little money is nothing to us. It's an expression of our gratitude for you. If not for you, our poor children would never have been found. And we would never be able to die in peace. My poor child." The elderly man was shaking all over with tears pouring down his face and exclaimed in a thunderous voice, 26 years ago, I've already been disappointed once. I hope you won't disappoint us again this time. Officers, I beg all of you, since our children have already been found, I hope you can find the culprit as soon as possible and bring those heartless B***stards to justice. I, Liang Wanqian, am willing to give a reward of 2 million RMB to the person who is able to catch the real culprit. It's been 26 years. I will not allow them to remain at large. Yes, Mr. Tao said with swollen red eyes. I'll also give 2 million RMB. Add me in, another wheelchair-bound elderly man raised his hand. Me too. The children that were kidnapped were all children from rich families in Nianling town. Take Sir Liang Wangan as an example. He used to be one of the richest people in Nianling town and now was even more incredible. As a boss who owned 2 massive real estate businesses and tens of industrial companies, he was one of the biggest names in the Qingshan business world. 26 years ago, the 6-year-old girl, Liang Shuhan, who was kidnapped, was his only daughter. Liang Wangan only managed to have this one precious daughter at the age of 37 and always saw her as the jewel of his eye. He had never expected such a tragic incident to happen. After the kidnapping, the daughter's fate was unknown for 26 years. The family was completely devastated. That they had finally obtained news about their daughter, but it was only to find her skeleton. How could they not be completely crushed? Death would have been preferable. Check new CHDers at novilbin.com. Mr. Tao, who gave Zhao Yu a bag of cash, was not only the executive director of Qingshan Bank, but was also an important member of city council. His son, Tao Xiao, was one of the victims, and was only 11 when he had been kidnapped. Other than those two, the elderly Mao Dai was one of the victims, Liu Hongxiang, grandfather. Mao Dai was the boss of the Mianling Agricultural Company and owned tens of textile enterprises. The other 2 victims' families were not as famous as the other 3, but were all rich in their own right, having millions to their name. Thus, when Liang Wangan encouraged the police's efforts and offered 2 million as a reward, the other 4 family did not even hesitate. The reward for finding the culprit reached an astonishing 10 million yuan. Along with the 500,000 yuan police reward for closing the Mianling kidnapping case, the reward was now 10,500,000 yuan, and without tax as well. Zhao Yu was already dumbfounded. He held the leather case of money that Mr. Tao had given him and almost felt a bit awkward. This bag of 200,000 yuan almost felt too light. Holy *T, 10 million yuan? This was no joke. Zhao Yu, Zhao Yu, Zhao Yu. He kept calling his own name, trying to clear his head. Seriously, I have the miracle system. If I can close this case like the other few and catch the culprit before the others, then I won't have to worry about money for the rest of my life. Strangely, at first Zhao Yu did not even fantasize about what he could do with all of the money. His first thought was rather random: if I have money, then I can buy a Volkswagen Phaeton and show it off in front of Miaoying. Then what would Miao Renfeng say about, right? It's over, it's over. This is lovesickness, he quickly realized. Zhao Yu could not help but be angry at himself. Even at a time like this, how was he still thinking about Miaoying? Could it be, I really have fallen for her? He wondered. Ever since reopening this massive case that shook Qingshan, Rongyang branch became the focal point of the citizens overnight. Reporters crowded outside of the police station, and the inside was even more chaotic. From investigators to higher-ups, every department was completely swamped with work. The branch office had meeting rooms specialized for case analysis, but the key case investigation unit rarely used them. Usually, they simply gathered in Team A's office and briefly spoke over a whiteboard. But this time it was obviously different. Due to the severity of this case, many higher-ups came to the office. Thus, the case analysis was organized in the biggest meeting room in the police station. Right at 10 a.m., the meeting officially started. Due to the influence of this case, all the higher-ups were basically bantering right at the beginning of the meeting. Vice Bureau Chief Luan Xiaoxiao first introduced all of the city-level officials and gave her warm welcome. Then, the Vice Bureau Chief of the city station, Liao Jingxian, who had recently been promoted to head criminal investigator, started speaking. Bureau Chief Liao noted that the higher-ups were very focused on the case, and hoped that the people of the Rongyang branch could uncover the truth and bring justice to the victims. Immediately after, it was the leader from the branch office, Bureau Chief Zhou Andong's, turn to speak. He first welcomed the higher-ups, then mentioned that since Rongyang branch had such a huge mission, they must focus and work hard, etc. He encouraged all of the investigators, urging all of the departments to band together and quickly solve the case. In the end, he very seriously warned all the police officers, noting that this case was quite influential, and asked all the investigators to keep this case confidential. They could not let any information leak, not even to their relatives. All in all, the higher-ups spoke well. Not only did they give everyone a direction to work towards, but also motivated all of the investigators. After, when the higher-ups had left, the case analysis for the massive Mianling kidnapping and murder case had officially begun. Bureau Chief Luan Xiaoxiao acted as the main director and took care of the higher-ups. The key case investigation unit captain, Liu Changhu, was obviously the main organizer of this analysis meeting. Even though the investigators were already very familiar with the case, according to the rules they still asked team leader Chu Ping to describe the scenario of the kidnapping case over again. 26 years ago, the driver, Niu Weiguang, drove a Changhe van, taking 5 students from the Guangming Elementary School in the city. They disappeared on their way back to Mianling town. 3 days later, the criminal called the victims' houses and asked for 200,000 yuan from each family as ransom and threatened them not to call the police. Originally, the family had not called the police. They had planned to simply sacrifice the money and bring back the 5 children. But the disappearance of the 5 children raised much attention, and the information quickly spread. Before long, all of Mianling town knew. Also, since the kidnappers had not mentioned the driver Niu Weiguang over the phone, Niu Weiguang's wife became worried about her husband and had already called the police. In the end, the police arrived anyway and was involved. At the time, the police took a traditional approach and theorized that since the kidnappers had aimed for the children of the rich family, it meant that they were looking for money, and that the possibility of killing the children was rare. Also, they were very careful about their involvement, and believed the entire situation to be under control. On the day of the ransom exchange, the police not only placed agents all over the target area, but also put a tracking device with the money. They asked Mr. Tao and another 2 parents to head toward the location. Unexpectedly, once they arrived at the designated area, Mr. Tao suddenly got a phone call from a public phone booth. The kidnapper asked them to change the money exchange area, and that they must do so in a short amount of time. Mr. Tao could not do anything but rush towards the new location with the other parents. The police officers that were undercover could not do anything but also change the route of their ambush. Then, once they arrived at the new location, Mr. Tao got yet another public call, asking them to move to another location. Just like that, the kidnapper swapped locations 4 times. They even requested the same location twice, completely confusing the police officers. Mr. Tao was very angry and started threatening the criminals. Yet, through the phone suddenly came the sound of his son, Tao Zhao's, cries. With that, Mr. Tao no longer dared to disobey their commands. He took the bag of money and continued toward the meet-up location described by the kidnapper. In the end, just as the sun set and the area was about to be enclosed in the darkness of the night, they finally bought the money to an uninhabited cliffside as instructed by the kidnappers. Then, a phone that was placed under a rock suddenly rang. The kidnapper requested for Mr. Tao to take all the money and throw it from the cliffside. The cliff was 60 meters high, and there was no way to go down from there. At that time, the sun was already setting. Other than the tightly packed trees down below, they could not see anything at all. At the time, Mr. Tao could not imagine how the kidnappers would be able to get money, and hesitated as he was going to throw the money. But once he remembered his kidnapped son, his love for his son won, and he threw the money off the cliff. Mr. Tao was not the only who had not expected this. The detectives in charge of this case also had not thought that the kidnappers would be cunning enough to resort to this method in order to get the ransom money. What was even more beyond their expectations was that when they located the tracking device, they found that it was still at scene and the money was gone. The 5 children who were kidnapped, along with Niu Weiguang, never returned. Although the police had put in much manpower and resources afterwards, not only did they not find the kidnapper, but even the van that Niu Weiguang drove could not be found. The ransom money had been taken, but the children were not released. In the end, the police were even unsure of the number of kidnappers involved. That year, the case had caused a big stir throughout Qinshan. The leaders of the police force were furious and heavily punished the detectives in charge of the case. As the money had been thrown by Mr. Tao, he had been beating himself up after all these years. If he had not thrown the money, would the children still be alive? At that moment, Zhao Yu was listening very carefully. Although he had reviewed the information on the case many times, he still managed to discover a few points which he had not noticed previously. He felt that there seemed to be some areas in the case which did not make sense, and there were slight inconsistencies from what he had previously understood. However, he was unable to figure out what they were exactly in such a short amount of time. TSK. Zhao Yu touched the handbag that Mr. Tao passed to him. The money inside had not been touched, and it was now all his. Although he attempted to reject it a few times after that, Mr. Tao still insisted to give Zhao Yu the money as a form of gratitude. He had initially thought that this huge sum of money had slipped out of his hands, but the events took an unexpected turn. He never would have imagined that the money would eventually end up in his hands again. It seemed that his DUI hexagram was quite powerful after all. Mr. Tao had also told Zhao Yu that he was working in a bank that year and was holding an important position. The ransom money had been taken directly from the bank vault. Not only were they all new notes, but they were all in running numbers. The police had recorded the numbers at the time and had also taken pictures of the money and handbag. After the children disappeared, the police had cooperated with the bank to check on these numbers, but nothing had been found. However, no one would have expected that the culprits had not touched the money at all, but had it buried in the collapsed mine pit all along. Money. Ransom. Zhao Yu thought hard about it and started to feel that there was something eerie about the ransom money. Why did the culprits keep it beside the bodies of the children? That year, the police had gone in from every approach. Telephone, fingerprints, interpersonal relationships, etc. had all been investigated. Chu Ping continued, but in the end, not even one suspect had been found, and the number of kidnappers was also unknown. The only person who had been listed as the suspect was Niu Weiguang. There were people who had suspected that even if Niu Weiguang was not the kidnapper, it was also highly possible that he had collaborated with the kidnappers in plotting their operation. However, Chu Ping shook her head and signaled to Lu Changhu, which meant that she finished talking about the case. Oh, Lu Changhu quickly pointed at Wang Fei, who was standing in front of the big screen. Now, Chief Wang will talk about the remains. Hearing this, Zhao Yu quickly composed himself and paid attention. He wanted to know what situation they had encountered during the autopsy. Due to the recent heavy workload, Chief Wang looked pale and a little haggard. However, she still began her explanation professionally and was full of energy. After the screen lit up, the first thing to appear was a dark gray skeleton. As the size was very small, even a layman could tell that it belonged to a child. Dear colleagues, we have found a total of 5 complete skeletons from the collapsed area of the mine pit. DNA analysis has shown that 4 of them belong to the children who were kidnapped, namely, Liang Meili, who was 9 years old then, Liang Shuhan, who was 12, Tao Xiao, who was 11, and Liu Hongxiang, who was 10. Also, there was another body which belongs to the van driver, Niu Weiguang, who had disappeared that year. The moment Wang Fei said this, there was an uproar and the agents were all shocked. Zhao Yu was no exception. He had not thought that the result of the skeleton analysis would be like this. If Niu Weiguang had also been killed by the kidnappers, it still seemed reasonable, but why was there a body missing? Zhao Yu compared the information and realized that there was no Liang Cixi among the names which Wang Fei had mentioned. Liang Cixi had started first grade that year and was only 7. Why, what about Liang Cixi? Was she not harmed or was her body not found? Among the 5 sets of remains, there was no information obtained regarding Liang Cixi. Wang Fei continued, according to the latest update, that collapsed area of the mine pit has already been cleaned up thoroughly, and no other remains have been found. The engineering team has already sent out a professional search team to search nearby mine pits. We will need to wait to see if there are any other results. This is the handbag found by Comrade Zhao Yu, and it contains the ransom money from that year. Wang Fei introduced, we've already done a thorough examination, but the time elapsed was too long, and the item has been severely damaged. We were unable to get any useful evidence from it anymore. Oh! Zhao Yu touched the handbag. It seemed like the money was no longer be usable evidence, which was why it had been returned to the owner so quickly. As the handbag had valuable bills in it, the agents present all looked enviously at Zhao Yu and exclaimed how lucky Zhao Yu was. Not only had Zhao Yu picked up money, but the money had even been gifted to him by the owner. Although there was only 200,000 RMB inside, they were all old notes in running numbers. They could be sold for at least 500,000 or more in the open market. Wouldn't this young chap suddenly strike it rich? However, Zhao Yu had not thought very much about this. His thoughts were still on the remains. He could not figure out why there was a set of remains missing. The screen changed again with Chief Wang Fei's control, and a picture of the 5 sets of remains appeared. We've already analyzed all the remains, Chief Wang explained. Due to the time elapsed and water erosion, we were unable to determine the real cause of death of these people. However, the remains were scattered all over, and there were obvious signs of an explosion and landslide, and we've also found sulfur nitride content in the rocks. The evidence shows that there had indeed been an explosion at the scene, and the explosion caused the mine pit to collapse. We're only unable to determine if these people had been buried after they died or they had died from the explosion. We've also found some coarse fabric near the remains. After analyzing, we've already determined that it was a type of old hemp rope material. We suspect that the victims could have been tied up by this type of rope, and the rope was still on them when the explosion took place. When Wang Fei said this, the hearts of all the agents present felt heavy. There were 4 children among the victims. The culprit used such a cruel method to kill them, it was really infuriating. The screen changed again and the picture was now that of larger-sized remains. These are the remains of Niu Weiguang. Wang Fei pointed at the screen and said, we found other issues with his remains. There is an obvious stab mark on Niu Weiguang's left ribs. One of the ribs had been broken directly, and the other 2 beside it had clean cuts. We can deduce that Niu Weiguang had been stabbed by something sharp before he died. This place was very close to the heart. Although the heart had not been stabbed directly, death was very likely. After Wang Fei finished, the agents started discussing among themselves again. Zhao Yu heard someone beside him whisper, since Niu Weiguang is dead, it seems like he's only an innocent victim. He shouldn't be related to the kidnapping case, right? That's hard to say, another person said. What if he had been killed because they couldn't agree on how to split the ransom money? That's right, someone said. I heard that Niu Weiguang has been suspected as being one of the kidnappers all these years. His whole family had even been chased out of Mianling town. I wonder if he has any family members coming to claim his remains? The one who spoke first sighed and said, "One case has caused so many broken families." I wonder who exactly were those evil kidnappers. I've just heard that the victims' families publicly stated a reward outside. The reward money is 10 million. Brothers, let's buck up. It's time to change our destiny. These people were discussing when the conference room door suddenly opened and a person walked in. After Bureau Chief Luan Xiaoxiao saw the person, she quickly signaled for him to come to the front. After Lu Changhu saw him, he also stood up and led this person to the seat beside himself. Zhao Yu turned and saw that this person was not only someone that he knew, but was the original team leader of Team A, Mao Wei. "Ha ha ha, that's great!" Lu Changhu patted Mao Wei on the shoulder as he spoke. Right now is the perfect time for more hands on the key case investigation unit. Mao's return has truly added more strength to our numbers. Ha ha ha. Indeed. Bureau Chief Luan smiled softly. Team Leader Chu Ping, Team Leader Mao Wei, our powerhouse Team A and B cooperating. This time we will truly have a good outcome and add more glory to Rongyang branch. Bureau Chief Luan was incredibly skilled in motivating the police force. Under his lead, even officers who did not want to clap followed in response. Thanks for the praise from the higher-ups. Mao Wei spoke modestly. Lying in the hospital, I was just so bored. I love this job too much. I miss the brothers and sisters of the Key Case Investigation Unit too much. Everyone relax. This time I came back early, but I'll be sure to work hard and listen to Team Leader Lu's orders and contribute to our branch. Clap, 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 another wave of clapping rang out. Zhao Yu threw a careful look at the sincere Mao Wei, but felt a bit suspicious. Why? This guy's leg was still crippled, right? Why did he suddenly come back? He heard that Mao Wei needed to be in the hospital for 2 months before he could be discharged. Could it be that this guy had his eyes set on the 10 million yuan? Wasn't this too fast? Zhao Yu had not been at the Key Case Investigation Unit for too long before Mao Wei was injured. He and this team leader had not shared many interactions, so he did not know about his temper much. He had only heard from Ping Xian and others that Mao Wei was an honest person, good to the higher-ups, good to his underlings, and never offended anyone. But seeing Mao Wei and Lu Changhu so close, Zhao Yu was instinctively on alert. Oh, right. Bureau Chief Luan Xiaoxiao continued in a hurry. During the time Mrs. Ping Xian was the temporary leader of Team A, her exceptional performance was clear to all. Due to the unusual circumstances right now, and Team Leader Mao has yet to recover completely, the higher-ups have decided that for now, Mrs. Ping Xian will act as the vice-captain of Team A, and assist Mao Wei in leading Team A. Hopefully everyone will cooperate and act as one to solve this case quickly. As she finished, there was another wave of polite clapping. Once the applause finished, the meeting finally moved on to the main topic. Since this was a case analysis meeting, the focus of the meeting was on discussing the case and organizing tasks for the investigation. Team leader Chu Ping was the first to suggest her own idea. Ever since the bones and the ransom was discovered, she had already sent people to investigate the story behind the mineshaft. The silver tunnel of Yinpan town had been abandoned since the 1980s. The tunnel area belonged to the government at the time, even though it was sometimes owned by individuals. Due to the age of the cave, most of the people were no longer alive, and it would be difficult to investigate. But due to the complicated structure of the tunnels, strangers did not usually dare to enter area. Thus, Chu Ping suspected that the kidnapper at least had someone familiar with the area accompanying them. That was why they chose this area to hide the victims. Also, Under the cave, someone had even put wooden fencing outside. No matter what, this direction of investigation could not be given up on so easily. The future investigation focus should also focus on Ingpan Town Tunnel area. They should send people over and familiarize themselves with the old people and see if they had any good information. Also, the investigators back then had done some detective work themselves. Since so many people had been kidnapped, there had to be at least 3 or more kidnappers. Based on the day of the ransom exchange, for example, the kidnappers needed at least one person under the cliff to wait for the money, one person to call the parents, and another to keep an eye on the kidnappers. The kidnappers had skillfully obtained the ransom money despite being under the watchful eye of the police. Not only did they use public phones to avoid capture, but they also managed to break the tracking device on the money. This showed that within the kidnappers, there was someone who was very knowledgeable about how the police operated. This person may have worked within the police system, or he had a good friend who was a police officer. This evidence was considered important in solving the case. The new investigation could start based on that information and see if there were any suspicious people on that year's police force. Following that, through some more in-depth discussion between the investigation members, they decided on a number of investigation directions and started dividing up tasks. This time it was truly an unprecedented level of force. All of the members vowed to solve the Mianling kidnapping case. They would not let any piece of evidence slip by. Obviously, Zhao Yu could not avoid getting a mission. Due to Zhang Jingfeng and Liang Huan's return, along with Zhang Jingfeng's fame as the expert people locator, they were given one of the most important missions of the investigation, to find Liang Cixi. If this girl was still alive, then this massive cold case would be solved easily once they found her. Yet, Zhang Jingfeng, who was skilled at locating people, was not very optimistic about their odds. He spoke honestly. To find this girl who had disappeared 26 years ago, not even knowing if she was dead or alive, was like finding a needle in a haystack. The possibility of the girl being alive was minuscule. The kidnappers had already ruthlessly murdered 5 of their hostages. There was no reason to leave one alive and open a risk to themselves later. If the girl was already dead, the corpse must be buried elsewhere. Unless someone could reenact Zhao Yu's miracle-like discovery, there was no possibility of a discovery like that. If the girl was still alive, the 3 men's expression betrayed themselves. The possibility was nearly zero. How could Liang Cixi be alive? How could she have lived? She was only 7 when she had disappeared. If she had escaped, how could no one have discovered her? What happened to this girl? Of course, no matter how difficult, they had to investigate no matter what. Thus, once the analysis meeting was over, the 3 men started discussing their plan for the investigation. Zhang Jingfeng was the most experienced. He said straightforwardly that the most effective method was go to the national DNA database and see if they could find DNA from Liang Cixi's family members. Their next step would be to ask the Missing Persons Department's experts to make a portrait of her and see what Liang Cixi's adult form probably looked like. Then they would distribute it throughout the country, making it a missing persons case. Other than that, there were no other methods. Liang Cixi was still a child when she had gone missing. There was no type of identification for her at all. The usual methods that Zhang Jingfeng used to find people would not work at all in this case. Because of their limited options, the 3 decided to try the methods that Zhang Jingfeng had in mind. With their plan set, Zhao Yu finally pointed to his bag of money and asked Liang Huan, "Liang, can you get some contacts for me? The faster I can deal with this money, the better. I can't save this in a bank, and it's unsafe to keep at home. The faster I can turn this into usable money, the better." Liang Huan nodded and told Zhao Yu to let him take care of it. He would make sure to give Zhao Yu a good price. Zhang Jingfeng suggested that just to be safe, they should go get a safe from the bank and put the money in there. Zhao Yu thought it was reasonable and decided that when he got off work he would store the money in the safe. The three of them were just cleaning up when Liang Huan suddenly remembered something and grabbed Zhao Yu's arm. Right, Zhao, I heard from my wife yesterday, you and Miaoying had some kind of conflict? She didn't do anything to you, right? Huh? Zhao Yu was stubborn and immediately asked, Liang, don't be like that. Are you underestimating me? Zhao. Liang Huan spoke wisely, no matter who you go against, don't go against Miaoying. At my wife's branch, they have a saying, stay away from Miaoying if you value your life. Shit, isn't that an exaggeration? Zhao Yu laughed and spoke without fear, I've fought her before, but I didn't feel anything. Yeah, she's tough, but against me, Zhao Yu, he. You don't understand at all. Liang Huan shook his head. I didn't mean it like that. I'm saying that Miaoying's background is too much. Anyone who annoyed her at all had a bad ending. What? What's her background? Zhao Yu's eyes lit up, and he asked in a hurry, Liang, tell me, what is Miaoying's background? Was she rich? Does she have a boyfriend? Bro. Liang Huan continued to shake his head. If we knew her background, then we wouldn't need to fear her, right? The problem is we don't know. I heard from my wife that even their branch's bureau chief doesn't know Miaoying's full background. One time, Miaoying and their branch office's vice bureau chief had a conflict. I think that guy wanted to take advantage of Miaoying. In the end, Miaoying beat him to a pulp then and there, as mercilessly as you can imagine. Originally, everyone thought it was over for Miaoying. But guess what? The next day, the vice bureau chief got transferred. The order came overnight from the provincial level. He was directly transferred to lead a nearby village's police department, basically a 3-level demotion. And Miaoying? Nothing happened to her. Went to work as usual, and continued as the Criminal Investigation Department leader. *T, no way. Holy *T, Zhao Yu thought. He was shocked. To think that once again, he had underestimated Miaoying. Apparently, Miao Renfeng was not only good at fighting and was rich, she even had connections. What was he going to do now? Thinking back on the shocking kiss from last night, Zhao Yu felt a chill go up his spine. No. In Timei's office, Zhao Yu said seriously to Ping Xian as he pushed back the money. Big sis, colleagues, I really can't keep all this money to myself. I've already decided that from now on I'm gonna be a good person. An agent who was drinking spit out his water. Some even got onto Lu Xueshan's head, however, Lu Xueshan was oblivious to it. He simply wiped his head, and his eyes were still looking at Zhao Yu. So, I'm not gonna keep this reward of 20,000 RMB no matter what. Zhao Yu passed the pen and paper in his hand to Ping Xian. It was through everyone's effort that we managed to catch young Wen Tao. Everyone has worked hard for days and nights, how could I keep the money all to myself? So, I've decided to divide this money equally between everyone. We can't go against our team's rules. After Zhao Yu finished talking, the whole team was silent, and the agents all looked at one another speechless. They had complicated expressions, especially Li Baini, who could not help but make fun of him. Oh, gimme a break. Are you not feeling well? Ping Xian did not believe what Zhao Yu was saying and passed the pen and document back to him. The case closure report is already done. What's the use of you saying all of this rubbish now? Why didn't your conscience prick you the day the report was written? Aren't you being a little hypocritical saying all this now? Holy, Zhao Yu wanted to curse but swallowed it and said with a sincere look, I've turned over a new leaf. Please believe me. How about this? I'll distribute the reward money to everyone after it's given out, all right? Yeah, right. Come on. Gimme a break. Although everyone was just joking, Zhao Yu could still tell that these people did not believe him at all and thought that he was just pretending to be good. All right. Having no other choice, Zhao Yu grabbed a pen and said, I'll sign then. Pretend I didn't say anything just now. Hearing this, the agents jeered again. It was an acknowledgement form for the reward money. Zhao Yu had received 20,000 RMB for arresting Yang Wentao. The finance department would be able to credit the money into Zhao Yu's account after he signed. After he signed the form, Ping Xian passed him another acknowledgement form which was for the official reward of 60,000 RMB for solving the slaughter case. The city bureau added in another 20,000, so it was a total of 80,000 RMB. Young man, you're truly lucky in wealth. Ping Xian pointed at Zhao Yu's handbag and said enviously, Hey, why didn't you say that you want to share this 200,000 ransom money and 80,000 of reward money with us? What a joke! Zhao Yu said seriously as he signed the forms. I'm a reasonable person. I picked up this 200,000 RMB when I risked my life fighting with the criminal. It was gifted to me after I nobly returned the item to the owner. It seems that this has nothing to do with you guys at all. This is even more true for the slaughter case. I was in charge of this case as the leader of the cold case department, and the reward money belongs to the cold case department. Since the cold case department only has me, who else should take the money? Jeers came from all around again. Huh. Ping Xian took back the acknowledgement forms and gave Zhao Yu an angry glance. I'm really regretting that I ordered only one small abalone at your seafood feast. How could you say that? Zhao Yu was suddenly in high spirits at the mention of food. Never mind, when have I ever been stingy when it comes to treating you guys? How about this afternoon, Zhao Yu raised his hand and was about to invite everyone to a meal when a voice suddenly came from the door. This afternoon at Natural Food Town. My treat, all are invited. Everyone turned back and saw that the person who spoke was none other than the team leader, Mao Wei. Hey, Mao, you're finally back. An agent walked forward and gave him a high five. Mao, you're really too much. Why didn't you tell us beforehand that you were coming back? We're totally unprepared. Ping Xian smiled happily and gave him a bear hug. All right. Mao Wei pushed Ping Xian away and said jokingly, I'm finally able to walk again, don't hug me crippled again. Everyone laughed. Brothers and sisters, Mao Wei raised his hand and smiled. I've also just received notice on this big case. The leaders wanted me to come back, so what could I do? Let's not talk about this now. Let's all talk about it this afternoon at Natural Food Town. I've already reserved a big table. Sure, everyone agreed. Lu Xueshan and Ping Xian, along with other senior team members, quickly went forward to catch up with Mao Wei. At the same time, Li Beini went to Zhao Yu and hit him on the arm. Bro, you're really amazing. Even when you want to treat us, there's someone fighting with you. Your luck is simply out of this world. Zhao Yu thought to himself, seems like the DUI hexagram didn't happen for nothing. Money just keeps coming. However, although he felt lucky, he also felt a little disappointed. He could not understand why he had been called hypocritical when he suggested sharing the money with everyone. What kind of logic was that? Why was it so difficult to be a good person? After going back to his desk, Zhao Yu wanted to read through the Mianling case again to verify some of his previous thoughts. However, his colleagues were all surrounding Mao Wei and asking him how he had been. They were very noisy, and Zhao Yu was unable to get down to work. These people got louder and did not show any signs of stopping. Damn! Zhao Yu could not help but hit the table and shouted, "Hey! Dear colleagues, can all of you please quiet down? I'm thinking about a case. Can you all please shut your mouths? We've gotten such an important mission, and all of you are still in the mood to chit-chat. Do you still want to solve the case?" The agents were all stunned by Zhao Yu's nonsensical shout. Mao Wei looked at Zhao Yu and quickly smiled at him. "Ah, it's bro Zhao Yu. What happened? Why are you so angry?" "Brothers, what bro Zhao Yu said is also correct. Now that there is such a big case, we should all quiet down and not disturb him." As Mao Wei was talking, his colleagues looked strangely at Zhao Yu again, not knowing what had gotten into him that day. Seeing that everybody had stopped talking, Zhao Yu sat down again and continued looking at the files on the computer. Mao Wei was a tactful person. He had long heard of Zhao Yu's fiery temper. Now that he had seen Zhao Yu's outrage, he quickly limped in front of Zhao Yu and said to him softly, "Bro, I've heard of your outstanding achievements. You've brought much glory to Tima recently. But you have to take care of your health too. Give yourself a break. This case has been quiet for 26 years. There's no hurry to solve it immediately." Zhao Yu looked at Mao Wei and nodded. He even said thank you to show that he had understood him. Seeing that Zhao Yu's attitude had softened, Mao Wei quickly said in a low voice, "Bro, there's something that I have to nag you about. I heard that you and Captain Liu had some conflicts. How about this? I'm on pretty good terms with Captain Liu. Why don't I find a chance to try to settle the dispute between you two? What do you think?" Zhao Yu shook his head and thought to himself, if I had not vowed to turn over a new leaf, I would have already found a girl and set Liu Changhu up. "No," Mao Wei advised, "Liu is a leader after all. Actually, he's quite a nice person. People like us with no background, it's better that we don't offend the leaders." Mao Wei was also thinking for Zhao Yu, but Zhao Yu did not give a damn about Liu Changhu. Even though Zhao Yu had decided to start anew, it was impossible for him to give in. Mao Wei was about to persuade him a little bit more when a few people came in from the main entrance. The leaders from the police station clustered around the newly appointed City Bureau Deputy Chief, Liao Jingxian, as they walked into Timei's office. The agents quickly stood up straight after suddenly seeing so many leaders arrive. A few of them even saluted them. "At ease, everyone," Bureau Chief Luan Xiaoxiao quickly spoke. "Bureau Chief Liao is here to look around and understand the agent's daily office situation. Please relax and continue doing whatever you were doing." The agents nodded, but who would be able to remain calm after suddenly seeing a big leader come in to observe? Everyone stood in their spot, unsure of what to do. Bureau Chief Liao looked around and walked straight over to Zhao Yu after seeing him. Mao Wei thought that the leader was walking toward him and quickly limped forward, wanting to shake his hand. However, Bureau Chief Liao brushed past him instead. "Kikik," Liao Jingxian laughed heartily as he approached Zhao Yu. "How are things, Comrade Zhao Yu? How's the case investigation going?" "Huh? What?" Zhao Yu was dumbfounded by the leader's question. He answered straightforwardly without even standing up. "Arg! The meeting has just ended. What could I have possibly found out?" Seeing Zhao Yu's attitude, everyone was shocked, and Bureau Chief Luan quickly coughed loudly at him. Find PT Tez on n/VLN.cm. Zhao Yu naturally knew that this person was a leader. Given his previous temper, he would not give a damn whether he was a leader or not. However, once he thought about turning over a new leaf, he stood up immediately and gave a respectful salute. "Good morning, sir. There's no need for this, there's no need for this." Bureau Chief Liao asked smilingly, "Comrade Zhao Yu, I've heard about your heroic acts of solving difficult cases for a long time. The leaders from the city bureau spoke very highly of you. I'm here on behalf of the city police to ask if you are doing well in the key case investigation team. I'm good, Zhao Yu replied pleasantly. Thank you for your concern. I'll definitely do my best to solve this case. I'll be a good policeman. Please don't worry. With this, Zhao Yu saluted twice. Haha, Bureau Chief Liao laughed and pointed at the pantry at the back. All right, don't be so polite with me. Come, my good nephew, I've got something to talk to you about. With this, he walked toward the pantry. Well, that's all for this part, truckers. See you all in the next video.